It's a football Saturday at Notre Dame, and the first signs of autumn have greeted the thousands of visitors. There's a snap in the air, and the fall foliage is starting to appear. The pastoral campus scenes playing in counterpoint to the violent collisions in the tradition of Leahy that will soon fill the stadium. There's hope in the air, too, as a pair of 2-2 teams, having survived difficult early schedules, now look to finish the season on a strong note. It's Stanford and Notre Dame. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Notre Dame. Tom Hammond and Pat Hayden ready for this match between two teams that have a lot of similarities. Obviously, their record, difficult early schedules, and each team playing with a backup quarterback, having seen their starter go down with injuries. In Stanford's case, that means Chris Lewis in his second start.
You know, in June, Chris Lewis was actually their third-team quarterback. Well, Joe signs a baseball contract, and then 2 weeks ago, Randy Visani hurt his knee in the first quarter against Texas. On trots Chris Lewis, throws 3 touchdowns, including the game winner, but it wasn't nearly as easy a week ago against a tough and aggressive Arizona defense. He got battered. The offensive line really needs to protect him a lot better. The team had 6 turnovers, 17 points scored off those turnovers. I think a couple things have to happen to the Cardinal offense today. The offensive line really has to protect him much better than they did last week, and they need to run the ball early in this game. Their game plan is in the first quarter to go nose to nose. They need to run the ball well.
Well, Lewis, the redshirt freshman, is a seasoned veteran compared to the Notre Dame starter, Matt LaVecchio, 2 true freshmen starting for the first time, and the third Notre Dame quarterback we've seen this season.
Well, you know, a month ago, he was running their scout team, Matt LaVecchio. But, you know, for an 18-year-old guy, we met him yesterday, very mature, focused player. The coaches like that. I think he's a good leader. And he had a little bit of experience. 2 weeks ago, he got his first chance to play against Michigan State. This was his only pass during that game, but a 43-yard completion to Javen Hunter led to the Irish touchdown. And the reason he is starting today, Tom, is the Irish offense is built around the quarterback in terms of running the football. Be kind of their second leading rusher in the option plays, kind of designed to scrambles almost, quarterback draw. So that's what they're expecting from Matt LaVecchio today.
So a couple of untested quarterbacks to play pivotal roles for their teams today. And just a few moments ago, the Notre Dame band took the field in preparation for today's game. All the pageantry of Notre Dame football. It's the Stanford Cardinal, the Notre Dame Irish. We'll be back for the kickoff after these messages and a word from your local station. Notre Dame and Stanford getting ready to kick it off. Two teams that have identical 2-2 records, and it's a chilly day. Don't be mistaken by that 47-degree temperature. The wind chill with a 23-mile-per-hour wind is about 6 degrees, and it could get worse before the day is over. Possible snow flurries or thunderstorms later today. Some ominous clouds, as you see in the distance over Notre Dame Stadium.
Love that word, ominous. That's a great word.
Bob Davie gathering his troops under the stadium, about to make their appearance before the 153rd consecutive sellout here at Notre Dame Stadium. Over 80,000 faithful bundled up for today's game against Stanford. The Irish coming off an off week. They kind of needed that, too, to get over the emotionally draining last-second loss to Michigan State. And here are the Irish. And the Stanford Cardinal making their way through the tunnel and about to make their appearance onto the turf at Notre Dame Stadium. Stanford has beaten Notre Dame 2 of the last 3 meetings. And on the sideline with us today, bundled up, trying to keep warm, is Paul Sunderland. Paul?
All right, Tom, warmest regards to both you and Pat. Good to be with you once again. And as you mentioned, 2 very young and inexperienced quarterbacks starting for these teams respectively. Both teams want to run the football, and on the Notre Dame side, there was a lot of concern because their super young sophomore out of Virginia, Julius Jones, strained a right hamstring on Wednesday, did not finish that practice, received treatment Thursday and Friday, was questionable for today. But I spoke with his position coach, Desmond Robinson, and he said he's set to go 100%. He's had a phenomenal season so far, putting up big yards from the line of scrimmage and also returning kicks. He may not return kicks today. Stamina not necessarily 100%, so they will watch his reps. And you've mentioned the weather. Right now the sun is in and out. The wind a big factor. And I was speaking with Stanford head coach Tyrone Willingham before the game, and I asked him about the weather and what he was going to do about it. And he said, look, when we go back in the locker room, I'm going to take out my Palm Pilot. I'm going to get online, wireless mind you, and check the weather report. And that may well decide what I do if we win the toss to take an end or take the ball. You get the idea. Stanford is near Silicon Valley, isn't it? All right, back to you guys.
All right, Paul. This is all getting too high-tech for me, Pat. In Sydney, the runners, while in the middle of a race, looked up at the big screen to see where their competition was. It's all getting very high-tech. Bob Davie, the Notre Dame coach, and Tyrone Willingham, you saw the Stanford head coach who took them to the Rose Bowl last season and had a win over the Irish at the end of last season's campaign. Notre Dame does have a 9-5 lead in the series that began in the 1925 Rose Bowl with a Notre Dame win, but as we noted, the Cardinal have taken 2 of the last 3. Notre Dame won the toss and chose to defer, so they will kick off to Stanford to open the game.
You mentioned the 23-mile-an-hour wind for punters, kickers, snappers. It could be significant today.
And for those receiving punts too. Set to receive the opening kickoff is Eddie Gales. Gales for Stanford, as Matt McNew, the former soccer player, will kick off for Notre Dame. Gales standing on about the 5-yard line. McNew will send it into the end zone, deep into the end zone, where it's fielded by Brian Allen. And on the touchback, Stanford will take over at its own 20-yard line with young quarterback Chris Lewis at the controls. Chris Lewis, 6'3", 205, good size, redshirt freshman from Long Beach, California.
This guy is a very, very talented and smart player. He's going to be a great quarterback at Stanford. I don't know whether it's going to happen today. It's a very complex offense, but really a talented guy.
He was National High School Player of the Year in 1998 at Long Beach Poly High School. First snap. Lewis with a draw handoff to Allen. And Allen only a couple of yards before Tony Driver, the free safety of the Irish, who's having a tremendous season, comes up to make the stop. Here's the Stanford starting lineup with that offensive line that is a mix of veterans and newcomers. And Chris Lewis at the quarterback spot with Carter, Moore, McCullum. Pitts is the primary receiver. He catches most of their passes. And Brett Pierce, a backup tight end, as the Cardinal line up on 2nd and 8. That's Allen in motion. Lewis with his first pass, a short drop, fires it to the tight end Pierce, and Pierce will have a first down across the Stanford 30, where he's hit by Harrison and Israel. So the tight end Pierce with the first down. Weaver, Scott, Legree, and Roberts up front for the Irish defense. And Boyman, Harrison, and Denman at the linebacker spots. Both Boyman and Denman having good seasons. Williams, Driver, Israel, despite some injuries, getting the starting call, and Shane Walton.
And there's Rocky Boyman. He is always around the football.
First down, Irish showing blitz. Hand off to Allen. It was Williams coming on the blitz from a corner spot that lined up in the slot and came right after him and made a tackle on Allen.
Yeah. The Irish do this an awful lot. They'll have that corner fire, that corner blitz, particularly against passing teams. Number one, right down here in the bottom. And again, they expect pass. It's really good when you have a pass play, but you also have that opportunity, if it's a slowly developing run, that he can make a tackle deep in the backfield.
2nd and 8. Split backs in the backfield for Lewis. Lewis unloads it, and it's caught by Pitts. Durrani Pitts to the 40-yard line, just short of the first down, where he's stopped by Anthony Denman. Pitts, the leading receiver on this team, and tops in the Pac-10 in receptions per game with just over 6 a game, and already 5th all-time in Stanford receiving yards, 4th in receiving. receptions.
And Tommy, he played that one like kind of a power forward. He just gets great position there, kind of settles in, kind of pushes, uses his body against the defensive back. Not, doesn't have outstanding speed, but boy, he catches the ball, he gets open, and he breaks tackles.
3rd and 2. Play action fake. Lewis hit, unloads it, and it will be an incomplete pass.
Well, Rocky Boyman off the corner.
And Harrison joined him, and they were all over Lewis.
Remember, we just said Rocky Boyman is always around the football, and he is awfully good off the corner.
So Stanford stalls. Yep. And Baselli is on to punt for Stanford with Joey Getherall, the jockey, standing at his 22. There's Getherall.
Stanford has not punted the ball well this year.
Baselli, the place kicker, has taken over punting duties, and he sails that one deep. Getherall over the shoulder catch at his own 5, reversing his field, looking for a block, and will be trapped at about the 8-yard line. That's when he should have let go into the end zone. 55-yard punt, only 4 on the return. Did
Shane Walton, number 42, throw a block for Joey Getherall? I mean, it looked like Willie Mays on this one, didn't he? Over the shoulder. I was talking to Tyrone Willingham this week. He said, Joe, one thing he noticed about Joey Getherall, he never fair catches the ball.
But you don't want him to field it at his own 5 on the fly at that.
You're right.
So Matt LaVecchio with his first start for the Irish in the shotgun at his own 5-yard line. The snap coming from about the 9. Play action fake. LaVecchio rolls, delivers to the tight end. And O'Leary bumped hard, but got it out close to the 20-yard line. Gabriel on the tackle for Stanford. LaVecchio completes his first pass. Black, Jones, Thane, Gandy, and Vollers. They're looking for better production against the run, better run blocking. LaVecchio the start with Fisher replacing the banged-up Jones for the time being. Murray gets the start. Lopinski is injured. Gibbons, Hunter, and Holloway.
Yeah, Kevin Rogers, the offensive coordinator, said even though he's a freshman, we've got the whole offense in, A to Z. We're not going to, play it close to the vest.
First pass to O'Leary resulted in a first down. Here's LaVecchio on the keep, turning the corner and diving close to another first down. That's what you mentioned, wanting some run production from the quarterback. Reuben Carter finally chased him out.
Yeah, for Notre Dame to win today, their tailback has to run for over, 100 yards. That's usually Julius Jones. But this guy, Matt LaVecchio, needs to be their second leading ball carrier. This is what they really want out of the quarterback position. What they had with Arnaz Battle. Gary Godsey, who started 2 games, a good quarterback, but not a running quarterback. This is what Notre Dame wants. Option plays, quarterback scrambles, and impromptu plays.
LaVecchio picking up the first down. So 2 plays, 2 first downs for Notre Dame. Here's the give to Hunter. Javen Hunter on the end around takes it into Stanford territory to the 45-yard line.
I'll tell you, Kevin Rogers said, hey, we are going to open it up this week. We have a mature 18-year-old freshman. The very first play was the throw. Then they had a designed run by LaVecchio, then a little reverse here to Javen Hunter.
And Hunter picks up 25 yards. So the Irish continue to move the football now into Cardinal territory at the 47-yard line. I formation this time. Murray and Fisher the setbacks. Here's the option, the toss to Fisher. Fisher gets the corner and is stopped just short of the 40-yard line. Fought on the stop for the Cardinal, who line up this way defensively. Already knocked back on their heels, Benner, Howard, Albrecht, and Hoover. Johnson, Gabriel, Wire, second leading tackle. Former running back gets the start. Carter, Falk, Williams, and Fernandez. Falk is the leading tackler from the strong safety position. Here's Gibbons lining up in the backfield now as they line up in a wishbone formation. Play action fake. LaVecchio, plenty of time, and complete to his fullback Murray. Jason Murray out of bounds with a first down. Run out by Austin Lee. Matt Lovecchio's parents are on hand from New Jersey today. Lori and Larry Lovecchio are watching their son Matt move the Irish in his first series as a starter.
You know, Matt Lovecchio, we talked to him yesterday, very calm guy. He said his father's a little bit more excitable.
He looked okay so far.
He looked okay, yeah. Well, his son's got a pretty good drive going.
Matt, I think, was the least impressed with his new status as starter for the Irish. 5 plays and 4 first downs.
And here he is checking.
And gave it to the fullback Murray, who was hit immediately.
I think when you start a true freshman at quarterback, Tom, I think that you worry about a lot of things, but the first thing is just getting out of the huddle, managing that 25-second clock, getting guys lined up. If you're going to check, make the right checks. Those are the things you kind of worry about. And he was selected over 2 other freshman quarterbacks largely because of his maturity. And one of the things he said to us yesterday, I want to get to the line of scrimmage with about 15 seconds left in the play clock to allow me to audible and set guys up, which he did this time.
And it looks like he's changing the play again from the shotgun. Tosses, complete. O'Leary holds on despite the hit. He'll be a little short of the first down. Rial Johnson put the hit on him.
Well, Tom, an entirely different offensive game plan and calling by Kevin Rogers, the offensive coordinator. 2 weeks ago against Michigan State, much more conservative. He admitted, hey, as an offensive coordinator, I felt a little hamstrung, calling plays with Gary Gotze as my quarterback. I'm a guy that likes to have my quarterback run the option, get those impromptu plays. And so now he's being much more aggressive with a freshman, Matt Lovecchio.
Pair of tailbacks in there now. Fisher lines up in the slot, top of the screen. Julius Jones is sent back with Lovecchio. Fake to Jones, keep Lovecchio. Uses a block by Gibbons and has a first down just short of the Stanford 20.
Terrific call, terrific series for the Irish. A little misdirection that time. They've run direct runs out of shotgun. They've handed the ball out of shotgun. Second carry for Lovecchio, 18 yards or 16 yards. Picks up the first down, and there's his mom, who's looks worried. Every mother worries.
Well, you don't want your son to get hit.
Yeah. When you play quarterback, and you're going to get hit some, particularly when you run the option.
That doesn't mean mom has to like it.
No, you're right.
5 wide receiver set for the Irish. First time we've seen this spread formation. They're throwing everything at Stanford on this first series. It's been successful. Quarterback draw. Lovecchio is going to get hit again.
Empty backfield, usually a signal for quarterback draw for Notre Dame, but still picked up, 4 or 5 yards?
Right. So the Stanford defense being tested early here by a diversified Notre Dame offense run by the true freshman Lovecchio.
Lovecchio, he said he has to have a good day running the ball, but I think he has to have 5 really good, third down plays. Don't have to be 50-yard runs or passes, but 5 key conversions on third down.
2 tight ends, Holloway and O'Leary. Murray, the fullback, Jones, the tailback. Looks like Lovecchio's changing things again. Jones, not much there. Stanford defense ready for him, couple of yards. Gabriel in the center of the defense, the linebacker, makes the tackle.
Williams and Wire then
quarterback comparison. You see Matt Lovecchio, pretty good rushing yardage there against Michigan State a couple of weeks ago. Chris Lewis had a real good first game where he threw 3 touchdowns against Texas. Came in, mid first quarter. Last week he got a little bit rough against Arizona.
3rd and 6 on the 11th play of the drive. Lovecchio, empty backfield in the shotgun. 5 wide receivers.
They keep 2 guys in here for the quarterback draw this time.
Lovecchio, crossing pattern, wide open, Gibbons, touchdown! What a beautiful drive, and the clincher, a 17-yard strike to David Gibbons.
Not only was it a great drive, Tom, I think really good play calling by Kevin Rogers and good execution by the team.
Did you say Lovecchio was a freshman? Starting his first game?
Doesn't seem like it. Seems like he's been here 4 or 5 years. 4 of 4 on that drive for 40 yards, including that 17-yard touchdown pass.
Nick Setta for the extra point, puts it up and through. So Matt Lavecchio has tossed his first collegiate touchdown pass. It's to Givens, who is wide open and scampers into the end zone from 17 yards out. And Larry and Lori Lavecchio couldn't be happier. Irish, 7-0. Irish fans celebrate Notre Dame's longest scoring drive of the season, 91 yards in 11 plays.
A little bit of everything for the Irish offensive there. Some runs, some outside passes, opening up with a little pass to the tight end.
What must Lavecchio be saying? This is easy.
I don't think so. He seems pretty well balanced, doesn't he?
McNew will kick to Allen and Gales. There's a look at Brian Allen as McNew will send it on its way. This is a shorter kick and will be fielded by Allen at about the 4. Dropped it, picks it up, and is cut down at about the 13-yard line. Things not looking good for Stanford early, and that was Jerome Sapp downfield to make the stop. It's been all Notre Dame so far.
Terrific read by Matt Lavecchio. Watch the blitz here, both by the strong safety and both inside linebackers. One of the reasons you have a guy in shotgun, so he has a little bit more time. He sees it, feels it, gets rid of the ball very quickly to a wide open David Givens. See how quickly the ball comes out of his hand? And then Givens wasn't even covered because the man supposed to be covering had blitzed. And that was an impressive Irish drive led by a very calm Matt Lavecchio. Looking like he's done it before.
He was perfect on the drive through the air as the Irish covered 91 yards in 11 plays.
They told us yesterday, last year this time I was getting ready for Don Bosco High School. Now I'm getting ready for Stanford.
So Stanford now looking to answer with Chris Lewis. And beginning deep in their own territory from their 13. Looks like Lewis is changing the play. Hand off to the tailback Carter. And the Irish defense ready for him, stopping Carter at the line of scrimmage. Anthony Denman smelled it out. And don't forget, tonight, coming up at 7:30 Eastern Time, NBC has that crucial Game 4 in the American League Division Series. The Yankees prevailing in Game 3 last night. Young Barry Zito starts for the A's against Roger Clemens. The Rocket coming back on 3 days rest after losing the opener in the series. But the A's need to win to stay alive. That's Game 4 from Yankee Stadium tonight, 7:30 Eastern, here on NBC. Lewis got rid of it. Swing pass to Carter, and then Carter, you hear the collision as he stopped after a 4 or 5 yard gain by Boyman and Denman. Chris Lewis has his dad Steve watching the action in the white Stanford cap.
There he is.
Steve, a volleyball coach, huh?
Well, out in Lakewood High School out in California. Great volleyball coach, has been a long time. As a matter of fact, his son, Chris Lewis, may play volleyball for Stanford this spring, and he has a daughter, Robin, who plays on Stanford's women's volleyball team, although she's redshirting this year, so a very athletic family.
Wells, Pitts, and McCullum, 3 wide receivers in the formation on 3rd and 6. Lewis retreats to pass and completes it to Wells and dropped it. Well, he had the first down, turned upfield, and then the ball came free.
Not only did he have the first down, he had some running room. I mean, you love those routes against man-for-man coverage where you have those crossing routes where a guy can catch it and then run with it after the catch. Here he is coming right down here, fighting through some traffic. A little bit behind him, still should have caught it. Still should have caught that ball, and he would have picked up perhaps another 10, 15 yards after the catch. Again, remember, Stanford has just been terrible punting the ball this year. 3rd different punter they've used this year. Actually, their kicker, Mike Baselli.
Baselli in punt formation with Getherall deep for the Irish. Short punt. Getherall says get away from it, and it takes a Notre Dame bounce down at the 42-yard line. Only 24 yards on the Baselli punt. As Stanford's punting woes continue, Irish dominating the first quarter.
Notre Dame leading the Stanford Cardinal early in the first quarter, 7-0, and the wind certainly, and the weather going to be a big factor here today. Paul Sunderland with you down on the field, and Stanford coach Tyrone Willingham told me that he's going to be fairly conservative without the wind at their backs. Currently, they have it in their face, and with bad field position, they cannot turn the ball over, particularly reeling still from turning over half a dozen times last week in a terrible loss at home to Arizona. Notre Dame, on the other hand, as we saw in that first drive, could be much more aggressive, much more variable in their offense because they have the wind at their backs. Tom and Pat?
All right, Paul, you saw Chris Lewis on the phone. One of the reasons Stanford only averaging 3 yards per play so far. Here's Lavecchio at the line of scrimmage with a play-action fake. No pressure. Now he scrambles free. Still looking downfield. Delivers. Incomplete. Gibbons caught it, but was out of bounds. Aaron fought. Knocked him out. That would be the first incompletion of Lavecchio's college career.
Yeah, 1 for 1 against Michigan State a couple of weeks ago and started off 4 for 4. You know, that was, again, a pretty good decision. I mean, if he had thrown that ball on time to David Gibbons, it would have been picked off. Good coverage by the Stanford defensive secondary that time. You know, I was really surprised about really the poise of Matt Lavecchio when we talked to him yesterday. 18-year-old kid did not seem to be overwhelmed. Said, you know, Joe Montana is my favorite quarterback of all time, but wasn't overwhelmed by by playing quarterback at Notre Dame.
Right, he said, "Oh, nothing's changed. People treat me the same way. No, no problem with newfound fame." Second pass over the head of Holloway and incomplete. That was a bad pass by Lavecchio, but a young man that has earned the respect of his coaches and his teammates. Here's what Bob Davie said about him.
Matt Lavecchio right now has those intangible things that our other players appreciate. You know, he can step in the huddle, he takes charge, our coaches have confidence in him. He's more mature for whatever reason right now at this stage. So he has the respect of this football team, and, you know, I'm anxious to watch him play.
Well, you know, here is one of those third down plays from Tom we talked about. I think 5 kind of key plays for Matt Lavecchio on third downs. They're important for the Irish.
They've converted both their third downs today. Here's the option. Nobody's there. Lavecchio, first down, turns the corner, out of bounds at around the 20-yard line. Joey Getherall had a block downfield, a 20-yard scamper by Matt Lavecchio, finally run out by Ryan Fernandez.
This was supposed to be an inside pitch to Tony Fisher. That was taken away. Lavecchio keeps it. Really nobody to take the quarterback on the outside. And you're right, Joey Getherall, the wide receiver. If your wide receivers block, the runners, you know, can your 5 or 8 yard gains go to 10 or 15 yard gains.
Lavecchio 4 carries and nearly 10 yards a carry.
I said he had to be the second leading rusher, not necessarily the leading rusher, but he is the leading rusher right now for the Irish.
They convert the third down, first down from the 21 of the Cardinal.
These guys need to get some penetration up front for Stanford.
7-0 Irish, just over 5 minutes left first quarter. Lavecchio in trouble and sacked. Willie Howard all over him, back beyond the 30-yard line. So a big play finally from the Stanford defense, supplied by 5th-year senior Willie Howard from Mountain View, California.
No one plays harder than Willie Howard in college football. You talk about a guy who plays hard every single down. Thought there was maybe a draw coming at him, trying to slow him down, so he went through the traffic there, then attacks Matt Lavecchio. But Willie Howard is a guy that's in his 39th straight start, more starts than Kleiner Perkins. This is a guy that plays hard every down and is the leader of this defense.
Won the Morris Trophy as the top defensive lineman in the Pac-10 last season and a preseason All-American. Lavecchio's pass incomplete, intended for Getherall. And an incompletion will bring up another third down, third and very long this time for Notre Dame.
Yeah, well, they've really found the answer on third down so far. Stanford is really, it looks like now Willie Howard in particular is giving some good pass rush, but this is a down 3rd and 20 where Rial Johnson, number 97, has been just sensational over the last few years. A guy that has led the Pac-10 in sacks last year with 13. Really a terrific pass rusher. Likes to spin. Likes a real good quick up the field move and then spin back into the quarterback.
Lavecchio, after going 4 for 4 on the touchdown drive, is 0 for 3 on this drive and sacked again back to the 40-yard line.
No, we're just talking about the spin move. We're just talking about Rial Johnson. Likes to get up the field and then with a little spin move. He gets on the corner, the edge of Jordan Black. That real good first step. Black thinks he's going inside, then he spins and runs right into the quarterback. He likes that two-way go. He wants to go inside if you don't protect the outside, but then they'll fake inside and spin and get to the quarterback.
So despite poor field position, Stanford's defense up to the task. And here's Hillbold with his first punt. Pitts will let it go, and it reaches the end zone on the fly for the touchback. And Stanford will have the ball at their own 20-yard line when we return to Notre Dame with the Irish up 7-0. Notre Dame leads 7-0, closing minutes of the first quarter. For more Fighting Irish sports information, log on to UND.com, where you'll find highlights and audio clips of Notre Dame football's coaches and players. Plus, each week, UND.com offers fans a chance to submit questions to a featured Notre Dame player. That's UND.com, official athletic site of the University of Notre Dame.
I caught our director, John Gonzalez, on that site yesterday. You catch him in one of those meetings?
Is that what he was looking at?
He was doing, yep.
Really?
Yeah, that's what it was. You were paying attention to coaches, and he was online.
Total yards heavily in favor of the Irish. Handoff, and Carter stopped in his tracks, perhaps for a loss of a couple. B.J. Scott was the first to hit him.
Yeah, and Anthony Denman, number 39, finished it off. I tell you, the Irish defense has played very well this year in spite of their 2-2 record. The defense has played well enough to be undefeated. The Irish special teams are a top 5 special teams. But Anthony Denman sets the tone for this team. Look, this season, 15 sacks. They only had 19 all of last year. And the sacks and the passing yards kind of go hand in hand. If you put pressure on the quarterback, you usually play pretty good pass defense.
Stanford has rushed for only 2 yards thus far in the game, 52 for Notre Dame. On 2nd and 12. Lewis, quick pass, trying to set up a screen to Pitts, and the pass was incomplete. Incomplete pass, no fumble.
Lance Legree kind of stopped that one. Boy, Lance Legree, number 90, defensive tackle. This guy, Lance Legree, has been a hustle guy all year long. Those guys who made a play a couple of weeks ago, way over the sideline, about 40 yards away from him. Well, Chris Lewis now, 3 of 6 for 20 yards, and on 5 of his 6 passes, he has been pressured by the front of Notre Dame.
Stanford trying to convert a third down. They're 0-2 for Coach Willingham. And on this third down, they are backed up, 3rd and 12 from their own 18.
You know, if you're Notre Dame's defense, you have to be focused on Durrani Pitts, their leading receiver, a guy that is very good on third downs, particularly after the catch when he can break a tackle.
Pitts in the slot, bottom of the screen. It's a run, a toss to Carter. And Notre Dame will have none of it. Stopped at the line of scrimmage. Rocky Boyman, number 30, as the Leprechaun gets into the act. And the Notre Dame defense looking very good early.
Rocky Boyman has made a bunch of plays already here in the first quarter. His job there is contain, so he fights off a block, then spins back into the ball carrier Carter. Now, the Irish may try to block a punt when you're punting into the wind. It's a good time to rush the punter.
Baselli only got off a 24-yarder last time. Getherall awaiting the Baselli punt. Low, short, bouncing. This time takes a Stanford bounce. Getherall picks it up on the hop and is spun out of bounds at the Irish 45-yard line. Monday night on NBC, watch Deadline, the drama starring Oliver Platt as a star journalist who goes beyond the headlines to right the wrongs. That's Deadline. Monday at 9, 8 Central, here on NBC. Well, the Irish again with good field position. That last punt only covered 46 yards. Getherall, 3-yard return. I say only 46. Most of that on the bounce. It was not a nice-looking punt, but did get a pretty good bounce.
Yeah, but as Paul Sunderland mentioned earlier, there's a pretty good wind going from left to right. So they have punted this entire first quarter into a, 25-mile-an-hour wind.
Terrence Howard making his first appearance at tailback for the Irish, behind McNair at fullback. And here's Howard bursting free and close to a first down. Down a 10-yard gain before Tank Williams, the free safety, tracks him down.
Jeff Fain, Jim Jones, Mike Gandy, the interior of the offensive line, really do a good job. 76 Teasdale on the left side, but the Fain, really good block there on the side. Big running hole lane there for the Irish running attack. I mean, the offensive line has been inconsistent somewhat in the running game this year, but terrific hole that time created by Jim Jones and Jeff Fain.
And everybody getting a chance. The Irish have had 6 ball carriers so far in the first quarter with 1:42 left. Split backs this time. Lavecchio runs in to Howard.
Fumble.
And he fumbled the football.
Yeah, and I think Stanford's got it. That's the Irish's first fumble this year.
Still no signal from the officials. Tank Williams was on the ball.
He definitely fumbled it.
Was it down, though? That's what they're saying. I don't know.
He ran into Lavecchio, and it came out early in that run. I mean, that ball came out very early in the run.
The officials are a Pac-10 officiating crew today. Big Ten, I should say.
There you go. See, there he runs it. No, you can see the ball come out early, right there. I mean, that's a fumble. And a Stanford player recovers it. He's not down. Ball's out.
Right.
That's a fumble, no doubt about it. I think it was Sam Benner that recovered it.
Dennis Lipsky is the referee.
He's saying they're down. That ball was not down. That's a bad call.
While the ball was loose, there was an inadvertent whistle. The ball reverts back to Notre Dame. They elected to repeat the down. First down, Notre Dame.
Well, a huge break there for Notre Dame. Tyrone Willingham can't believe it. Let's listen.
Now there's a whistle. That's way after the fumble.
That was down. The only whistle we heard was after it was down. So Big Ten officiating crew and a tremendous break there for Notre Dame.
Now that is the rule on the inadvertent whistle. However, if the whistle we just heard on that replay, that was way after the fumble.
Of course, there might have been one that we couldn't hear. We must say that, but that could have been a huge difference. Stanford would have taken over. So it's still first down. Notre Dame gets a play over. Here's Fisher lining up in the slot, bottom of the screen, giving him 4 wides. Lavecchio tossing on the option to Jones. Stanford strings it out and stops Jones for a loss. Good defense that time by the Cardinal. Fernandez from the corner made the play.
Yeah, great stop by Ryan Fernandez. You know, and in the Pac-10, these corners have to, play these really fast and gifted wide receivers. You come in here, you have to play the option. But Ryan Fernandez, I see number 7, I think of John Elway,
Right, in a Stanford uniform,
yeah. Yeah, actually, Ryan Fernandez is his 3rd different number. He came in as a wide receiver. He was number 87, then he switched to number 18, and now he's number 7.
Well, if you're going to play for Stanford, 7 is not a bad one to pick.
I'm surprised it's not retired. They've only had 2 numbers retired, Jim Plunkett's and Ernie Nevers, but to me, that John Elway's should be.
2nd and 13, Lavecchio, play action, fake, rolling, delivering, caught. There are flags down as Jay Johnson makes the reception. Penalty markers all over the place.
Well, I really like the composure and poise of Matt Lavecchio. He's been a quarterback since 3rd grade. Been in a lot of pressure situations, seems to handle it awfully well.
I think O'Leary might have had a holding call against him. You see him 86 there with a takedown, and the flag flies, and that could be against Notre Dame, nullifying it is a 24-yard gain.
Tyrone Willingham, I was speaking to him earlier this week, and he said, we are looking for our spark that'll turn our engine over. He said, we just have had so much, the quarterback situation has been such in flux for us that we have not been able to really have the consistency out of that position that we need.
And plagued by poor field position much of this first quarter, playing against the wind.
He's an awfully good coach. His teams are rarely penalized. Led the Pac-10 the last.
Penalties on the play. Holding on the offense. That penalty is accepted 10 yards from the previous spot. Ineligible receiver downfield on the offense. That penalty is declined. Repeat, 2nd down.
Just saying, Tyrone Willingham's teams have led the Pac-10 in fewest penalties the last 4 years. Well-coached team. Don't make a lot of mistakes, certainly defensively. They've struggled on offense this year, and today they're struggling running the ball.
So the Irish, after the penalty, now facing a 2nd and 23.
Now, again, if you're Stanford defense, you look for a quarterback draw, maybe a screen.
Something safe with the freshman at the controls.
Right. And again, this is empty backfield. Last time he was in this, he ran a quarterback draw.
Final seconds of the first quarter. The Vecchio's pass caught by the tight end at midfield. O'Leary hauls it in. That's his third catch of the first quarter.
You know, the tight ends for Notre Dame coming into the ball game only had 6 catches all year. You mentioned O'Leary's already caught 3.
Total of 26 yards on the O'Leary grabs as the first quarter ticks to a conclusion. That's the end of the first quarter with Notre Dame leading Stanford 7-0. We'll be back after these messages and a word from your local station. Start the second quarter with Notre Dame leading Stanford 7-0. And the Irish going against the wind now and facing a 3rd and 14. Stanford with 5 defensive backs.
Real Johnson last time made the play from that defensive end position.
Vecchio in the gun. Good protection. Trying to use his blockers and stopped at the 49. He only gained a yard, and Real Johnson once again makes the defensive play for the Cardinal.
The Irish were very aware of Real Johnson that time. 2 guys on Real Johnson. And one of the premier pass rushers in college football. Last time he used a spin move. This time kind of a bull rush. And number 75, Kurt Bowlers, does a good job of getting his big body in front of Real Johnson.
Managed to stack it up. Teammates put the stop on Lavecchio. Here's Hillbold punting against the wind now to Pitts at the 15. Ronnie Pitts surrounded by the Irish special teams, taken down at the 17-yard line. 3-yard return after the kick, covered 34. Chris Ura made the tackle on special teams. Go in depth on the Fighting Irish by logging on to msnbcsports.com. Click on NBC's Notre Dame Central, which features player profiles, game highlights, audio interviews with Coach Davey, and expert analysis from Pat Hayden. MSNBCsports.com, official website of NBC Sports.
You always make me feel so warm and fuzzy. Thank you.
Well, a little jet lagged from Sydney. You gave me permission to doze off during the breaks. I like it.
And I noticed you have. Welcome back. Nice to have you back, Tom.
Thank you. I may have left my heart in San Francisco. My body's somewhere over the Pacific.
Long trip for all you guys.
Tailback, Allen.
And that's the best run for the Cardinal yet today. Only 6 yards rushing before that. And, you know, with Chris Lewis, the redshirt freshman, talented redshirt freshman, is a guy you really need to get that running game going. Now, number 12 is Randy Fasani. You know, this is a guy that, you know, you have to feel badly for him. He's signaling the plays now. Hurt that knee against Texas, waited 3 years for his chance. A bunch of quarterbacks came into Stanford at the same time, but patiently waited his chance. Played some linebacker, played some special teams, some tight end. Finally gets a chance and was playing very, very well until he got hurt.
Pitts, Bowman, McCullum, 3 wide receivers. That's Bowman in motion. Lewis has a blocker. Throws off his back foot. Not a good pass. Threw off his back foot, incomplete. Intended for McCullum.
Chris Lewis has a really live arm, a big arm. But that one was poor throwing mechanics off the back foot. And he's got a rather deliberate throwing motion, Tom. I mean, the ball, you know, takes a while to get out of his arm, a little bit like Randall Cunningham's delivery. But see, off the timing was taken up off the right foot. A lot of those balls are going to sail on you. You don't follow through, they're going to sail, and you never want to throw those kind of balls down the middle because those are the ones that get picked off by free safeties.
Stanford shooting blanks on 3rd down. This one 3rd and 5. Lewis under pressure, lets it go. Ryan Roberts was about to sack him. He is the Notre Dame top sack man with 4 on the season.
Yeah, 4 in 4 straight games. And really inside knife job by Ryan. He's going to come inside the tackle, number 95. And the back tries to pick him up as well. But real good pass rush by Ryan Roberts, filling in for, you know, Grant Irons and doing a great job of filling in with those 4 sacks.
So the Notre Dame defense forces Lewis into 4 straight incompletions, bringing Baselli on to punt with the win for the first time to Getherall.
Like an 8-man rush by Notre Dame.
Baselli gets a better kick this time. Getherall from the 34, got away from the first man, cuts up the field and is trapped there at the Irish 44-yard line. So Notre Dame will take over after the punt covered 44 yards, 10 yards on the return. Irish up 7. With producer Bill Bunnell, director John Gonzalez, Tom Hammond, Pat Hayden, Paul Sunderland at Notre Dame Stadium, where the Irish lead Stanford 7-0 with 13-17 left in the second quarter. Notre Dame takes over. They've won the battle of field position today, averaging starting on their own 39, while Stanford starts average on its own 18. This time the play will begin from the 44-yard line of Notre Dame. Julius Jones hit and dropped immediately by free safety Tank Williams.
Yeah, pretty good, appropriate name for free safety Tank Williams, as Julius Jones went immediately down when hit by Tank. Leading rushers this season, Arnaz Battle, you see, out with their starting quarterback with a broken left wrist. But Lavecchio came into this game 4 carries, 21 yards, has 7 carries today for 21 yards. And we said, you know, at the beginning of the show, hey, he had to be their second leading rusher today, because that's what they want from this offense, some impromptu plays out of that quarterback position.
Nickel defense, 5 defensive backs for the Cardinal. It's 2nd and 12. Lavecchio on the option, pitching to Givens. And the wide receiver, Givens, who runs at running back on the option occasionally, is stopped after a short gain. The Stanford defense has improved markedly since that opening drive.
Yeah, led by Tank Williams in particular. We've talked about Riel Johnson, Willie Howard. Those 3 guys, they're pretty solid in those 3 positions. Corey Wire, number 22, a guy that has been a new addition to this defense. Really was actually the leading rusher 2 years ago for the Cardinal. There he is, 22, when he was their leading rusher. Now he's starting at linebacker.
3rd and 10 for Notre Dame. 5 wide receiver formation again. Empty backfield for Lavecchio. Steps in the pocket, throws a strike. Short of the first down, though. Caught by Givens, but short of first down yardage. Hit immediately by Williams and Brian Taylor. And Notre Dame will punt.
Yeah, good defense by the Cardinal. Tyrone Williams has to be happy with the way his defense has played the last couple of series. Notre Dame actually, considering going, I think it's 4th and a long one. I think they need to punt this one.
Yeah, you think so?
Anyway, Notre Dame has, I think they're a top 5 special teams play. They can put pressure on you special teams wise from the very opening play, particularly on the returns.
Hillbold with his 3rd punt. Pitts awaits the boot and says get away from it. Takes a bounce right into his arms. He didn't heed his own signal, but he winds up getting it out to the 12-yard line on a perfect hop, a 6-yard return of a 36-yard punt. 7-zip, Notre Dame. 11:27 left, second quarter. Notre Dame leads Stanford 7-0. Stanford has gone 3 and out their last 3 series.
They're just not getting much out of the running game. Again, really putting a lot of pressure on Chris Lewis. See, Notre Dame actually started with 6 defensive backs on the field, and then when Stanford came on, all those defensive backs came off. A little game of cat and mouse by Bob Davie.
Kerry Carter at tailback as Powell goes in motion. Handoff to the fullback Moore. Ouch. Fighting for a couple of tough yards. Let's go down to the sideline now, where Paul Sunderland has Chris Lewis's dad, Steve. Paul?
Indeed I do. And Steve, we were talking during the course of the last couple of plays. You said that Stanford's starting to get to the field defensively, but with your son, we're obviously concerned about the offense. Now, last week was a tough week, and as a bonus, he gets to come to Notre Dame. What was his last week like in preparation?
Well, last week after I spoke with him on the phone, he was a little sore, but he was really anxious. He hurt his hand. He said, well, Dad, nothing's going to keep me out of that game next week, and he was really looking forward to it. So his spirits are really high.
I talked to him before the game. He said he was more than excited to play before 80 or 90,000 people. Is he that kind of kid? Will he be able to handle this kind of situation?
Sure, he won't have any problem with that. He's pretty calm and collected, and he's always been that way. I'm excited when it gets really excited in the house, but no, he's pretty calm.
Much tougher on the dads, I think, than the kids. More fun to go out and play.
Oh, more so. The parents, we just die with every minute of it, and he's just very calm. Both of the kids are calm, Robin also. So that's how they've always been, and that's been their trademark in athletics.
Steve, thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it. Now go get settled. You know you got the cell phone there. Keep calling back home.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Back to you, Tom.
This is not Chris Lewis's first trip to this stadium. Actually, in 1998, 2 years ago, he was here on an unofficial visit, sat in the stands, and watched Notre Dame Stanford play that day, and came here a couple years ago and went to summer camp. And Bob Davie said, we really wanted Chris Lewis as a recruit here to Notre Dame.
But he also said that they figured from the outset that Chris was going to wind up at a place, probably Stanford, but they did want him. And not only did Chris Lewis come to Notre Dame summer camp, but so did Lovecchio, the Irish starter, who was the first to commit to Notre Dame. He said he knew from the outset this was the place for him. Number 10, Matt Lovecchio.
Well, Chris Lewis had an unbelievable high school program career at Long Beach Poly in Southern California. Threw for over 100 touchdown passes, almost 9,000 yards, set all kinds of state records. Really
California record, 107 touchdowns. But he's missed his last 4. Lewis. Pass is incomplete, a little high, and McCullum couldn't hold on as he took the hit from Shane Walton.
Shane Walton did a great job. I mean, even if you're beaten sometimes, you see the big cushion, he is beaten there, Shane Walton in the corner. But if you can put a tag on the receiver like that, you create an incompletion. So sometimes it looks like the wide receiver's open, but the recovery speed and the size of the hit can cause incompletions. Symbol, guys, absolutely.
They always know.
Yeah, exactly. That's what those things are for. And to keep your ears warm.
3rd and 8.
Get the ball to Durrani Pitts some.
Lewis would like to, and he does. Pass complete for a first down across the 30 to Durrani Pitts. I'd like to take you to the horse racetrack occasionally. I think you're perfect for the day. 12 yards and a first down.
Tom, one of the beauties, I think, to me about the West Coast offense is that even if a defense knows you're going to throw the ball to a wide receiver, and Durrani Pitts catches 40% of their completions. This is no secret they're going to throw the ball to him. They still get open. And Bill Walsh did the same thing with the 49ers. Everybody knew Jerry Rice was going to get the ball, but still he would catch 10 passes a game. It really is the beauty of the system.
That was the first down for Stanford since the game's second play. Lewis finds another man open. It's Brett Pierce, the tight end. And he is across the 35-yard line to the 37.
A couple of short passes there, but Stanford has really thrown the ball down the field awfully well this year, particularly Randy Fasani early in the year. Look at that. All these receivers nearly over 20 yards a catch. Kerry Carter, 84 yards. That was a touchdown on a screen pass. So Stanford for 30 years has thrown the ball well. Great quarterbacks, great wide receivers.
That was the injured Fasani on the sideline as Lewis operates as the quarterback and hands to Kerry Carter, who only got a couple of yards. Near the conclusion of today's game, we'll select a Chevrolet player of the game from each team. Chevrolet will make a contribution to each university's general scholarship fund.
And here's one of these awkward downs right now for Stanford. It's 3rd and 3, Tom, and you haven't run the ball well. I mean, you try to kind of get Chris Lewis on the edge on a kind of a bootleg. They're only 1 of 5 on 3rd downs. And Tyrone Willingham, they came in, they said they wanted to go nose to nose running the football at Notre Dame. They've not been successful doing that.
Facing a 3rd and 3. Brian Glaspie into the lineup at fullback. Lead blocker here, and Carter carries for a first down. So Glaspie, the 245-pounder with a lead block, and Carter the first down, stopped by Israel and Driver. Let's go to Paul.
Well, Tom and Pat, you were talking about Randy Fasani, who was off to a wonderful start for Stanford so far this year before injuring his knee against Texas and then having surgery as recently as just a week ago Friday. And I was speaking to him when he was out warming up before the game, and it was hard to tell that he was injured at all. Nope, I asked him about it. He said he'd like to play next week against Oregon State, but for sure, and I also spoke to the team doctor, said he'll be back in 2 weeks. So good news for Stanford. Fasani will be back much sooner than they had anticipated. Back to you guys.
Lewis under pressure, got it away, but incomplete. Nice defensive play by Shane Walton, who broke on the football and intended for Pitts.
Durrani Pitts just kind of slipped. That ball had some steam on it. There's no doubt about the strength of Chris Lewis's arm. And Durrani Pitts, a guy that's had 3 big seasons for the Cardinals. A sophomore, caught 74 balls for over 1,000 yards, 58 last year. Even somewhat playing in the shadows of Troy Walters, but this guy is a very good wide receiver.
8th play of the drive coming up. Stanford trailing 7-0. Second quarter, over 8 minutes left. Allen in motion. And the handoff to Moore, and Casey Moore is close to a first down.
Stanford fullback has to do a lot of things. Pass protector in the bone and let him run the ball. Every lunar eclipse he gets to carry the ball.
That was his 25th carry of the season, Casey Moore, and he got the first down.
Stanford's actually had some very good fullbacks over the years. Red Muster's one I recall.
Just a moment ago, he's out of the game now, but Emory Brock was in at fullback. If that sounds familiar, he's Lou Brock's son. Baseball great. Lewis slipped, regained his footing, and hangs it up, and it's caught by McCollum.
A great block by Casey Moore allowed that pass to get off. 28-yard gain. Tom, it's one of those subtle things you don't really notice too much. The team will notice, but number 33, Casey Moore, the guy who ran the ball just a moment ago, kind of peeled off and picked the rusher, but a perfectly thrown ball by Chris Lewis, and then Jamie McCollum runs a good route. Man-for-man coverage, Notre Dame runs a lot of it. And so if you can run these routes where they're always chasing you, always behind you, you have a chance of some big completions.
Stanford first down at the Notre Dame 19. Handoff. Allen takes it to the 15-yard line. Legree made the tackle for Notre Dame.
A good drive here by the Cardinal. Bill Dietrich, the offensive coordinator for the Cardinal, and he has done a great job at Stanford over his 3 years as a coordinator. They've averaged almost 300 yards passing a game. He's got some pretty good guys winging it.
Carter and Moore back in the backfield. Moore. 2nd and 6. Fumbled by Lewis, who falls on it. He fumbled the exchange with his center, Quacha, and managed to fall on the football.
Well, in their 2 losses, Stanford's 2 losses, they've
Notre Dame came out of there with it.
There's clearly the fumble. I thought Lewis had gotten back on top of it.
They just knocked him off it.
Yeah. Well, in their 2 losses, they've had 10 turnovers. In their 2 wins, they've not turned the ball over at all.
And you see the reaction of Coach Willingham after Anthony Weaver out-scrapped Lewis for the football, just knocked him off it because he was the only one that saw the fumble right away and was apparently falling on it. And then Notre Dame with a huge break, Stanford's best drive of the game, winds up in a turnover.
Well, the most fundamental play in football really is this exchange between center and quarterback, and it looked like he actually got kicked away from Chris Lewis as he was trying to fall on it.
So Notre Dame will take over, spot the football at the Irish 16-yard line. Notre Dame already leads 7-0.
He had that great opening drive. Well, it was 91 yards, but since then, the Stanford defense has done a very good job of shutting the Irish down. We haven't heard much from Julius Jones. I know he was injured a little bit coming into the game with a hamstring, but the guy that really they felt was going to be the next star here as a running back at Notre Dame.
On the sideline now, Tony Fisher stands next to Lovecchio in the backfield. Shotgun formation. Fisher burst free for a moment and then is grabbed and taken down by Matt Fredericks. Fredericks doesn't grab hold. He was off for a big gainer.
Notre Dame has done a pretty good job up today, Tom, is running from the shotgun formation, either from the quarterback or that time, the handoff to Tony Fisher. Ordinarily when you're a defensive player and you see that shotgun formation, you think, either pass or quarterback draw. But Notre Dame's mixed it up pretty good in that formation.
Fisher, 2 carries, 14 yards.
Julius is now in, Julius Jones.
Blitz coming. Handoff. Jones stopped at the 25-yard line. And about a yard short of the first down, Coy Wire.
Coy Wire, we talked about him. What an interesting story. Leading rusher 2 years ago. Started the first 2 games last year at tailback. After the season was over, said to Coach Willingham, I really want to get on the field and play today. We'll try at strong safety. Now then he kind of got hurt, but the opening game this year against Washington State, they inserted him as kind of a nickelback, a linebacker position. He played so well, he started every game since and will play every down today.
Notre Dame's missed their last three third down conversions. Jones in motion. Hand the ball to Fisher. And he has the first down to the 30-yard line where he's hit by Reuben Carter.
You know, good teams run the football when you have to. And here's kind of a third and short. Watch these guys on the left side. Everybody, it's like a ballet. Everybody gets there on time. Good block by Gandy, number 69, who come around the corner in a pull. Only needed a yard, picked up about 6.
There's a look at Jim Jones, one of the mainstays on that offensive line. Pitch it. Fisher cuts up. Nearly lost the football. Holds on and stopped about 2 yards short of the first down by Tank Williams.
Tank Williams, number 13, is one of the premier free safeties, certainly in the Pac-10. A guy with a lot of range, a good tackler, a little bit like Tony Driver, the Irish. When he gets his paws on you, you go down. You know, there's not a lot of yards after the hit. His given name is Cleveland, but his sister, I guess, used to drink a lot of milk as a kid, a lot of milk bottles. His sister said, "Hey, Mom, you ought to give him a tank of milk," and it stuck.
And the rushing yards so far in favor of the Irish with 7 different ball carriers. No ball carriers back there at this time in a 5-receiver formation on second and short. It's Getherall on the end around with a first down at the 45-yard line. Tank Williams again in on the play.
Now, if a mother should worry about their son getting hit, Mrs. Getherall ought to worry about Joey when he's running the ball.
He becomes the 8th Irish ball carrier of the first half.
Joey Getherall, we've talked about him as a punt returner. Is 5'7" of nothing but gristle. I mean, a guy that is just so tough and incredibly quick. I mean, it only takes him a step or two to get to full speed.
He's given the Irish a first down at their own 45-yard line. They lead 7-0. Full house backfield. Givens is one of the halfbacks. And he gets the call and bounces off the tackler to the outside, inside the Stanford 40-yard line, where Aaron Falk chases him down. Gain of 19.
For Tank Williams, the free safety, had kind of bounced up as that 8th man, close to the line of scrimmage. He went outside, and Givens came right inside. Givens has done a little bit of everything for the Irish. They're running the ball, returns kicks, catches balls. They actually had one snap under center 2 weeks ago against Michigan State as a quarterback.
Here's the 5-wide formation again, spreading out the Stanford defense on first down from the 37. Lovecchio, protection. Receiver open. It's Johnson. And Jay Johnson knocked out of bounds at about the 25. Irish first down. Fernandez and Fredericks finally caught up after a 12-yard gain.
The last 3 plays at a shotgun, they ran the ball. This time it's a pass. Right out in front of the receiver, lets him catch it, running away from the defender. Where then he takes a pretty good shot by Ryan Fernandez and Tank Williams. And Fernandez is a good tackler.
Notre Dame moving the football, though, to the delight of the sellout crowd. From the 25, first down Irish. Lovecchio again in the gun. Fisher spins away from one man and is to the 20-yard line. Gain of 4 or 5 yards.
Yeah, the offensive line of Notre Dame is doing a pretty good job on this series. Just kind of mashing people, mixing it up. There's Kurt Vollers from California. Gandy, 69. Fain, the centers. Only the real newcomers done a pretty good job. Jim Jones, with whom we talked about yesterday, says, hey, we like to wear teams out in the fourth quarter running the ball. And Jordan Black at left tackle. Doing a good job.
And Tony Fisher taking advantage of that good blocking. 5 carries, 32 yards.
A big cushion up here.
Play action fake. His blockers to the 20-yard line, back to the line of scrimmage. Good job to get there.
that's a quality play by Lavecchio. You know, Tom? I mean, you know, if you can't make that guy miss, it's an 8-yard sack, right?
Right.
And it was, I think it was a blitz by Tank Williams, the free safety.
Right. Number 13.
And this is where, you know, it doesn't show up as a big play, but indeed it really is. You avoid the sack, give your team a reasonable chance of picking up the third down. It's 3rd and 6 rather than what, 3rd and 14 or 15.
Inside the 2-minute mark till halftime, 7-0 Notre Dame.
Empty backfield again.
Lavecchio blitz, got rid of it, tipped and incomplete.
Coy Wire, number 22.
Coming from his linebacker spot, and the ball tipped, incomplete, bringing up a
Coy Wire looks like he's playing defensive, I think he's right here, excuse me, down here on the bottom. Down here on the bottom. Coy Wire looks like he's been playing linebacker his entire life, but he hasn't been. I mean, his feet are always moving. He uses his hands well to shed blockers. Good job there on the rush.
And so Nick Setta on 4th down will attempt a 38-yard field goal. A young man that was quite a complete athlete in high school and a nonstop talker. Very intelligent, poised player who misses the field goal after all that buildup.
Well, you know, he doesn't seem like the kind of guy that gets shaken by misses. Missed one against Purdue early in the game, but then won it at the end.
So it's still 7-0 Notre Dame. Nick Setta missing a 38-yard field goal. Didn't appear to be any problems, just a miss by Setta, who had been the hero of the Purdue game with the winning field goal, for which he was awarded this black Notre Dame Special Forces for special teams t-shirt. Something special gets you a black shirt. Just playing well on special teams gets you a blue shirt. So Stanford trying to get something on the board before the half ends. 1:37 left, second quarter. They begin from their own 21-yard line. 3 wide receiver set, but they'll run it to Carter. Anthony.
Here in the first half, Stanford down by 7 points, but 2 timeouts remaining. With the wind at their back, this is the time. If you're going to seize the moment, this is it. I mean, Durrani Pitts is the kind of a guy that these are the moments that he seems to make most of his big catches.
There you see the total yards, although 91 of Notre Dame's came on the opening drive. Lewis runs away from pressure, throws back across his body for Pearson, complete.
Boy, Chris Lewis throws from some awkward positions,
yeah.
but boy, does he have a strong arm. I mean, you can
It's
see
almost like he has too much faith in his arms.
Yeah. And mechanics are not quite there, but he was a little bit under duress that time by this front of Notre Dame. Anthony Weaver, number 98, kind of put in the head. In fact, again, Ryan Roberts, number 95, really continues to be a good pass rusher for the Irish. Guy had back surgery in January. Didn't think he was going to be able to play much this year. And when Grant Irons went down, Ryan Roberts really stepped up.
Chris Lewis has only hit 3 of his last 10 passes after hitting 3 of his first 4.
And if you're Notre Dame, you better...
And they run it.
Yeah, for a quick count.
Allen to the 25, short of the first down.
Yeah, Notre Dame should use one of their timeouts.
And they have.
Yeah, they're going to get pretty good field position.
Ron Israel made the stop for Notre Dame. Coming up at halftime, Andrea Joyce for the Sun America halftime report. Not only all the scores from college football, but a report on the baseball divisional series and an interview with Derek Jeter. Jeter and the Yankees could close out the A's with a victory at Yankee Stadium tonight. That's all coming up on the Sun America halftime reports. What about the call on the running play there deep in your own territory?
You know, really kind of a surprising call. They wanted a quick count, actually hoping they're just going to pop him through on the draw. But now Notre Dame did the right thing. They stopped it. About Notre Dame too is they've been very good rushing the punters. If they choose to rush the punter, they've blocked 2 punts this year. And as we've already talked about, Stanford has struggled in that category. See Julius Jones back for the first time receiving a punt. It had been Joey Getherall. Julius Jones, he's got a right thumb that's been bothering him.
He hit it on a helmet in the Nebraska game and had a chipped bone in it and has been wearing a cast on it in practice, but not in the game. Vaselli to punt for the 5th time.
Givens.
And they'll have it at the 10-yard line. David Givens.
Third block of the year.
And maybe the tip-off was Jones back. He's got the bad thumb. He hasn't been receiving any punts, so they were hoping that to get the pressure on with a block, and it succeeds. The Notre Dame special teams are something special.
Yeah, I think they're a top 5 team. He comes right up to the middle. That's your number 6. He's right here. Yeah. Now, the first 2 blocks were by 19 Glenn Earl. He comes off the corner, but that time, right up the middle, David Givens gives the Irish excellent field position. Third block of the year. And again, what their special teams have done this year for the Irish, they really have been remarkable.
It's first and goal right at the 10-yard line. Jones, the tailback in the eye. Here's the handoff to Jones. Trying to juke away from defenders at the line of scrimmage. Stopped after a short gain by Travis Pfeiffer. Timeout Irish.
That's their second of 3 timeouts.
Jones has carried 5 times for a net 0 yards.
Yeah, the Cardinal defense has done their job.
Well, tomorrow at 4 Eastern, NBC kicks off its coverage of the 2000 Gravity Games. Some of the amazing athletes taking part in those outrageous events this week. The high-flying bike dirt finals and 2-man downhill skateboarding. Elbow to elbow at 40 miles an hour on skateboards. The Gravity Games tomorrow at 4 Eastern on NBC.
I'm told they're very edgy, those Gravity Games. Very edgy.
Jordan Black, the injured player. Starting left tackle for the Irish.
He's had a good year, Jordan Black. Comes from a very small school in Dallas Christian. 250 students in his high school. 70 of them played football, believe it or not, of the 250. He's right here, 78. Oh, yeah, right there. Ouch. I'm surprised it didn't happen more to offensive linemen, to be perfectly honest. A lot of them, the Notre Dame offensive linemen, a lot of them wear braces. Jordan Black limping off the field into the locker room.
Going straight to the locker room with only 32 seconds left in the half.
Well, again, with the Irish have, I believe it's 1 timeout left. The scoreboard says 2, but I think it's 1 left. And so with 32 seconds, really, and at least 1 timeout remaining, time should not be a factor for the Irish. Should have plenty of time to get 2 or 3 plays off.
Second and goal from the 8. Larry and Lori Lovecchio watching their son.
Lori looks much colder than Larry.
A touchdown would warm them both up considerably. Here's their son, Matt. Lovecchio for the end zone. Givens. Touchdown.
Yeah, same guy who blocked the punt.
And his second touchdown catch of the game.
Blocked the punt, catches the touchdown. He's run the ball. He's done just about everything, David Givens.
He'll give the halftime speech here in a minute. Lovecchio to Givens for the second time today. And the Irish take advantage of the blocked punt to turn it into a score. Set up for the extra point. Puts it up and blocked.
Willie Howard.
Stanford now can try to return it if they can pick it up.
Well, where's the Stanford band?
This is like the Stanford band. They'll go nowhere with it. Willie Howard got through to block, set his extra points.
A little disconcerting. Missed a field goal, then a field goal or extra point blocked. Let's go back to the touchdown. You know, David Givens has really had a remarkable first half. Started with great protection for Matt Lovecchio. Had plenty of time. And really, David Givens was open a little bit earlier. I thought maybe his ball should have been drilled, but he kind of still managed to go up and catch it, keep the feet in bounds. And, you know, he said his favorite quarterback, Joe Montana. I think I remember that pose. Montana got to do that a lot, if I recall correctly.
Well, what about this pose? Laurie and Larry. Touchdown.
His father does the same thing. We've been rehearsing that.
Runs in the family.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good news. Good stuff. Well, David Givens really deserves all of those 6 points. Blocks the punt, catches the touchdown. Smile a little bit out there on the sideline. He should.
Why not?
Yeah. And really a tough break for Stanford. You know, they go in. They should have gone in at halftime down nothing more than 7-0.
Lovecchio 8 of 12 in his first start, 78 yards and 2 strikes to Gibbons. Yep. Looked almost like he was looking back at those numbers.
Bergen Catholic High School in Franklin Lakes. I've not been there, but it sounds like a good football program, doesn't it?
And the same area where Chris Sims, Phil Sims' son, they played some summer basketball together. And Chris now at Texas. This is the up-man Glaspie that returns the squib kick.
Ryan Glaspie took the return
For 18 yards on the return.
We talked about Joe Montana a little bit, his hero. What about his first start? Loses to Michigan State 10-3. Joe Theismann, a win over Pittsburgh. Paul Hornung defeated SMU.
Unusual, though, for a Notre Dame quarterback to lose his first start as Montana did, because especially in recent history, almost all the quarterbacks, including this season, Battle and Godsey, winning their first starts.
I think 11 of the last 12 times they've had a quarterback with the first start, they've won.
You have enough to do a different one every game or not? Lewis completes the pass.
Boy, he's good after the
Pitts.
catch. Man, just so strong.
He'll have a first down after Pitts took 3 hits to get him down. 20-yard gain. Brock Williams finally put the clinching hit. It is timeout Stanford.
Yeah, call time. That's the right thing. With 12 seconds left, Stanford has 1 timeout remaining. The scoreboard continues to be wrong, I believe, but I think they have 1 timeout remaining.
Maybe it's frozen.
Tyrone Willingham knows, hey, we got right back in position to make a field goal, or attempt a field goal at least.
Pitts has caught 3 balls for 38 yards today. There's the timeout situation with 1 left for the Cardinal.
You look at Durrani Pitts, you say, boy, that guy's not very fast. Well, he may not be, but, one of those guys gets open, catches the ball, and then tremendous after the catch. You saw him break 3 tackles there. Now, the Cardinal need about 8 to 10 yards to give themselves, a reasonable field goal attempt.
Right.
Mike Baselli, their field goal kicker, beat the Irish as last year as time expired.
A 22-yarder with time running out. Davey said that was the low point for his program, too, that loss to Stanford.
Yeah, and sorry, Tom.
Known as the Irish struggled to the sub-500 season.
Yeah. And he said that in that locker room is where they tried to begin to turn around the attitude for this season after that loss to Stanford a year ago. So again, they need to get the ball down right about in here to give themselves a reasonable field goal attempt with 12 seconds and a timeout remaining.
Powell, Pitts, Bowman, and McCullum, the wide receivers. Lewis double pumps, clutched twice, and then threw it away.
Well, the running back, Kerry Carter, was open early but not looking for the ball. Chris Lewis saw him, tried to get him the ball, but Kerry Carter was not looking and ready.
So now 6 seconds left.
Now I think you have to get the ball into the end zone because it's really hard to complete the pass and still be able to call timeout and get your field goal team on. So maybe you hope for a pass interference. Maybe you hope for I guess you never complete a Hail Mary against Notre Dame. It's just not allowed.
And Lewis, perhaps that last time, waited too long to throw it away. Could have saved himself some time. Now he'll heave it into the end zone. Jump ball and tipped out of bounds by Notre Dame. It was Sapp ready for it, and that'll bring the first half to a close. Notre Dame with a drive to open the half and a drive to finish the half. Mixed extra point makes it 13-0 Notre Dame over Stanford at halftime. The Irish with a 91-yard drive to open the game, then using a blocked punt to set up their second score on their last possession of the first half. Chris Lewis, the Stanford quarterback, been harassed by the Irish defense all afternoon, and Lovecchio, the Irish starting quarterback, has had a couple of very nice drives. 13-0. Let's go to Paul Sunderland.
All right, Tom, with Stanford head coach Tyrone Willingham, you were 45 seconds away from getting into the half, and then comes the shocker of the block punt. How do you get past that with your kids?
Well, I think considering the mistakes that we've made already this half, the block punt, the fumble snap when we were down in the red zone, we're not doing too bad. What we've got to do, though, is, one, go back, get our run game in order, and then start making the plays that we can make. Because along with the mistakes that we've made, we've also had a couple of drop passes that would have given us first downs at critical points. So if we can eliminate those mistakes, it's going to be a difficult task, but we can fight our way back into this one.
Clearly one of the positives was the defensive adjustments after a Notre Dame very long, solid drive to open the game. What were those key adjustments?
Well, first of all, they gave us some formational things. They went back in a different direction formationally. So it took us a while just to get our base together, but our coaches and our players did a good job of making those adjustments, and I think we'll be set to go now in the second half.
All right, Tyrone, thanks so much for your time. Best of luck in the second half. That's Tyrone Willingham, head coach of Stanford. Tom, back to you.
All right, Paul, at the end of the first half at Notre Dame, it's the Notre Dame Fighting Irish 13 and the Stanford Cardinal nothing. Now let's take you to New York and the Sun America halftime report. Let's join Andrea Joyce. Notre Dame leads Stanford 13-0 at halftime. Let's go to Paul Sunderland with Notre Dame coach Bob Davie.
All right, thank you very much, Tom. Special teams, defense, pitching a shutout, made the big play at the end. But one of the biggest stories certainly here today is your freshman quarterback, Matt LaVecchio. What did you tell him at halftime, and how about his first half performance?
Well, so far he has really played well. I think, he shows you that he has a good arm. He's a good athlete. He can beat you with his legs. But probably the biggest thing is he's composed. But all of us know that a football game is two halves, not one half. So, I think we can play better. Defensively, I thought we played pretty solid. They helped us one time fumbling the exchange right there, in all honesty. The punt block was big, but 13-0 is one half of football, and there's a lot of football left.
Coach, thanks so much for your time. Appreciate it. Tom, back to you.
All right, Paul, a pretty good summation there by Bob Davie. He maybe ought to go to the courtroom. He pretty well summed things up. LaVecchio did win the battle of young quarterbacks, but to give Lewis his due, the Notre Dame defense made it tough on him by stopping the run, then putting the pressure on him.
Yeah, Stanford only ran for 33 yards, but I think the telling statistic, he's attempted 17 passes, 12 of those attempts. The Notre Dame defense has been in his face, really hurried him, knocked him down, so it's a little bit more of the same than what he had a week ago against Arizona.
Well, no question, the star of the first half individually was David Gibbons of the Irish.
Yeah, he had an all-star first half. This was their first touchdown blitz. Good read by LaVecchio, 17-yard completion for the touchdown. But this was really the big play of the first half, Gibbons. And then he comes right back to the next play with the touchdown play. So Gibbons has done it all, as he has all season for the Irish. But this has been a breakout game for David Gibbons.
And here are the first half stats. With Stanford only 6 first downs, half the Notre Dame total, 33 yards rushing, a key statistic.
Yeah, and then the other side, Notre Dame 113 yards rushing. A lot of those from LaVecchio we talked about. But Julius Jones didn't have a single yard rushing. That surprises me.
And despite that stat, Notre Dame holds the halftime lead. They're up 13-0 on the Stanford Cardinal with the third quarter when we return. Tom Hammond, Pat Hayden, Paul Sunderland, Notre Dame Stadium with the third quarter about to unfold. The Irish leading Stanford 13-0.
Boy, and the Irish have been awfully good in the return game this year. Really good in the return game. They returned one kickoff for a touchdown, one punt for a touchdown. That's the guy who won 100 yards against Nebraska on a kickoff return.
Julius Jones, Tony Driver, the deep man. Baselli to kick off for Stanford. Short kick. Jones. Cuts up the middle, cuts to the outside. Julius Jones to the sideline. One man to beat. It's the kicker Baselli who gets the angle and knocks him out of bounds.
The Fighting Irish are a top 5 special teams team in the country. They are such a good return team. Great block by Anthony Brannon, number 43. A little bit later in this run, right there was the block by Brannon. Once again, and it always seems to be a left return, Tom, by the Irish where they get the big plays.
There's what they've done on special teams, as you called it, and kudos to Baselli, the kicker, who prevented the touchdown, a 49-yard return.
Absolutely.
LaVecchio, first snap of the second half. It's to Julius Jones. And a couple of tough yards for Jones. Tank Williams has been all over Julius today. They've cut off his rushing game. 6 carries, now 1 net yard.
Sam Benner, a real good run player, number 70 for the Cardinal. Take him out during pass situations, but Sam Benner is a solid right defensive end versus the run.
Jones out of the game with Howard and Fisher now in. Third time Notre Dame has started a drive in Stanford territory today, thanks to the good kickoff return this time by Jones. 5 defensive backs for Stanford. Blitz comes. picked up by Notre Dame on one side, but not the other. And the sack of LaVecchio by Aaron Faught.
I'd say a well-designed scheme. Kent Bauer, the defensive coordinator. Really, Riel Johnson kind of stays at home. But here's the blitzer. He's going to watch the draw, but he's going to blitz off the corner.
Came with a blitz up the middle, too, that Notre Dame picked up, but not Faught, who gets the third sack of the day for the Cardinal defense.
A good scheme by Kent Bauer, the defensive coordinator of the Cardinal. I mean, other than that opening drive, the Cardinal defense has played pretty doggone well. Their leading tackler is Faught.
From Germantown, Ohio, where he was a run-and-shoot wide receiver.
Riel Johnson again, the guy that's such a good pass rusher.
3rd and 19. LaVecchio steps up and decides to run. Got away from one man. Tries to make to the sideline and is hauled down at about the original line of scrimmage by Simba Hadari.
You know, when you know you're playing against a premier pass rusher, you can't just block him with one guy. And that is what Riel Johnson is. He is a premier rusher. Inside stun, they've got 2 or 3 guys bouncing off him. He had Gandy, he had Vollers on him. But that's the way you kind of nullify Riel Johnson. Now somebody else has got to make a play.
Joy Hilbold will punt for Notre Dame.
Well, he's had a good year punting.
Tries to pooch punt it to down it. Pitts calls for a fair catch at his own 11-yard line. Punt covered 26 yards. Stanford with his first possession of the second half when we return to Notre Dame. Stanford backed up to its own 16-yard line on its first play of the third quarter. 13-0 Notre Dame.
Well, Stanford has to do 2 things offensively: protect Chris Lewis better and run the ball better in the second half.
Irish have had a field position advantage throughout the game. Hand off to Allen, and Brian Allen breaks it big. Allen down the sideline. Williams has a shot at him with the angle, and Williams will stop him at about the 12-yard line.
Well, they said he had to run the ball better. They certainly did.
That's a lot better.
Yeah, you know, Tyrone Willingham said that to Paul Sunderland going into halftime, he said, we have to run the ball over better, and we have to catch some passes that are very catchable. You know, little hole opens up here, and then some speed. Watch the cutback. Good block there. Good block by Pitts. Kind of ties up 2 guys. Maybe a poor angle by the safeties. But all in all, a well-designed run, and then the speed of Brian Allen. Kerry Carter's a power back. Brian Allen is a bounce it outside speed back.
71-yard run by Brian Allen, and Stanford has a first down at the Notre Dame 13. Quick pass for the touchdown. Pitts from Lewis, 13-yard score.
Well, Bob Davie said it to Paul Sunderland. You know, it's 2 halves of football. Can you call that a drive when it's only 2 plays?
That was a quick one.
I'm not sure that it qualifies as a drive, but great adjustments by Bill Dietrich, the offensive coordinator. You know, Pitts, 4 catches on the day, 50 yards for a touchdown. Really good after the catch. Remember, the 13-6 ball game, so that missed extra point may come certainly into play for Notre Dame later on.
And here's Baselli, one of the heroes, trying to add the extra point. Remember, his tackle saved what would have been a touchdown on the kickoff return to open the half. And the kick is good. So Baselli kicks it through, and Stanford has new life. Now 13-7 Notre Dame. Brian Allen, number 34, set up the score with a 71-yard run, and here was the payoff.
It's going to be a slant. Pitts is going to come up from the right part of the screen. He gets that big body, you know, really get off the press coverage very quickly. You know, gave the quarterback a real big target. He's 5'11", almost 200 pounds, really strong after the catch. And Chris Lewis threw it right out in front of him, so he didn't have to adjust, and it was an easy touchdown in a 2-play drive.
The first drive as a starter for Lewis at quarterback, 2-play drive.
You could have come up with something else for that for a 2-play score.
It was an overdrive.
There you go. There you go. Well, again, you know, last time this guy touched the ball, he had a pretty good kickoff return, 50 yards. So coverage is key.
Tony Driver is back there with Jones.
I'm sure I wouldn't squib it. You know, Tom, they're just so good on us. Got the wind behind him, right?
Wind blows the ball off the tee, so Baselli has to reset.
You mentioned it, good point a moment ago. By the way, the first since you've been back from the Olympics, first good point. But Baselli making that stop on the kick really, you know, set the really the key play.
Yeah. Well, there it goes again.
They're going to have someone hold it now.
The wind doesn't look that strong up at the midway point of the stadium. Down on the field, though, obviously blowing a little harder. It will swirl here at Notre Dame Stadium.
But, you know, it gives you a feel. You see the flag up here. Whoops, the flag up there kind of blowing, too. It's good 25-mile-an-hour wind. Notre Dame will have it at their backs in the fourth quarter. And this is a quarter where Stanford, if they're going to throw the ball downfield, would probably be a pretty good quarter to do it.
So Tank Williams is going to hold it. And Baselli will boot it. And it's a good kick.
Boy, it sure is.
Through the end zone. Forget about it. Baselli's pumped up after he made that tackle. Notre Dame will have it at the 20. Coming up tomorrow night.
They call him the bowling alley lawyer.
I'm actually going to try and stay away from that phrase.
The critics rave it's TV's hottest new show. Ed premieres NBC Sunday.
Well, if anybody should know what a bowling alley lawyer is, it would be you.
Oh, yeah. By the way, you're getting billed $350 an hour during this telecast.
Now I understand.
You don't have to pay. You just get billed.
Here's Fisher, lined up at fullback, now resetting as a wide receiver. Jones, the lone setback. First down play for the Irish. Option. Lovecchio tosses to Jones. He ducks out of bounds at about the 23.
The Jewish hamstring really must be bothering. He just doesn't look right. He's an explosive player, and Paul Sunderland at the very beginning of the game talked about Julius Jones and his hamstring, which he injured Wednesday in practice. First injured it before the Nebraska game, then re-injured it Wednesday. He just doesn't seem to have that explosiveness that he ordinarily does.
Except for the kickoff return, he's been ineffective. 2nd and 7 for the Irish. Their lead cut to 6. Lovecchio resetting into the shotgun and sending Jones wide to the left. Oh, snap, high snap over the head of Lovecchio, who, there's again the poise that he has as a young player. Instead of trying to pick it up and get something done, he simply falls on it to preserve possession for the Irish.
Smart play by Lovecchio. Now, this is the first poor snap I've seen all year from Jeff Fain. Jeff Fain has been really good in shotgun formations. Lovecchio's 6'4", so that was about, 7'4", that snap.
But Lovecchio, the presence of mind to fall on it instead of how many times do you see someone try to pick it up and end up losing it?
Again, here you have to really be careful. A 6-point lead, backed up. Don't force anything here.
6 defensive backs for Stanford. It's 3rd and 21. Lovecchio ducks away. Got room to run. And at least he'll get some of it back and give him room to punt. Simba Hodari made sure he didn't get any more than that. Coy Wire was there too, number 22.
And Notre Dame punting into that 25-mile-an-hour wind. Ronnie Pitts, the return man for Stanford, has to kind of adjust, kind of move up maybe 8 yards from where he ordinarily would be.
Hillbold will punt. And Pitts awaits it.
Looks like they may be coming after him. 8-man front by Stanford. Here they come.
And Hillbold steps up and delivers a really good, there's a flag down. Pitts. Looked like there might have been a block in the back too there, but wasn't called.
Should have been a clip. It was not called. Shijoki Asoma.
There's a flag back upfield.
Started with, Stanford was coming after Hillbold. They were going to try to block that one. Again, not a bad strategy when a team's punting into the wind. We talked about that earlier, because it's generally going to be a pretty short punt anyway, as long as you don't rough the punter.
42 yards.
Hold against Stanford.
Boy, now that, is 4th and 14. So that should give them the first.
Tyrone Willingham has seen some tough calls go his way today. Go against him, I should say.
Oh, they say it's not automatic first down.
Not automatic, so they're going to see where the spot was that Stanford would have the football. The punt covered 42 yards and only 3 on the return.
Still what, the 42?
Holding number 90 of the receiving team. 10-yard penalty.
Okay.
Repeat, 4th down.
Okay, not automatic first, so they'll still, I would imagine they're going to punt it again.
Notre Dame will take the penalty.
So they'll have some added distance to try to back Stanford up. Interesting, he called the number. I thought they didn't do that in college.
Well, you weren't supposed to be listening. Joey Hillbold, the punter from Notre Dame, really having a great year. Much better than a year ago when he had kind of an average year. But he says he's dropping the ball about a foot lower and getting a lot better contact, more consistency in his drop. He has had 8 punts over 50 yards this year.
So he gets 10 additional yards on the penalty this time. Accordingly, now lined up at his own 35, 36.
I wonder why punters have to be in the huddle.
That's a low line drive, short kick, but gets a decent Notre Dame bounce, and then Pitts immediately stopped at about the 36. Clifford Jefferson down there in a hurry, so a 37-yard punt, no return, and about a wash after the penalty is where it would have been anyway. Tomorrow 1 Eastern, NBC brings you final day coverage of the Solheim Cup from Loch Lomond Golf Club in Scotland. The Solheim Cup tomorrow, 1 Eastern, here on NBC.
Notre Dame's been doing something kind of interesting in these tournaments. There's 15 Notre Dame players here. And as soon as Stanford comes on, you're going to see 4 guys rush off. Now, again, those are all 4 defensive backs. So any kind of peering in by the Stanford coaches saying, hey, who's playing on defense? They're trying to confuse them. That is legal on defense in college football.
And the defense is out there if they come with a 5 receiver set or something. The extra DBs already are out there.
Oh, boy.
Lewis with a strike to Pitts. Durrani Pitts twisted down at the 40-yard line. But another big strike from Lewis to Pitts. This one 24 yards and a first down. Jerome Sapp made the saving tackle.
It's not really a secret. Durrani Pitts, as we said, catches most of their balls, but he's so strong, defensive backs just kind of bounce off him. 25 catches coming into the ball game. Everybody on the defensive staff at Notre Dame realized that Durrani Pitts was the featured guy, yet they still getting the ball.
4th all-time leading receiver in terms of catches at Stanford.
Man for man there.
Instead, it's a running play to Carter. Carter fighting ahead inside the 35 to the 34 of Notre Dame. Boyman and Brock Williams combine on the hit, but the Stanford offense with new life after the score early in the 3rd and now moving the ball with regularity.
Gary Carter, an interesting story, born in Trinidad at age 9, moved to Canada, never had seen a football game. Moved to Canada, played that 12-man, 3-down football. In his senior year in high school, there was a teacher strike, was only able to play 1 game, but played in a summer league, believe it or not. Summer league, under 19 leagues, where college coaches found him.
That's where he gained 2,300 yards in 7 games. That got their attention, but that got Notre Dame's attention as Carter cut down for a loss by Anthony Denman.
Just when you think you seem to get something going against Notre Dame's defense, Anthony Denman seems to step up. Their leading tackler, he's number 39. He's right in here. There he is. He's kind of fighting through traffic. He's almost like a running back in that inside linebacker position. He has to run through traffic. He says, don't bring that in here.
3rd and 8 from the Notre Dame 38.
The corner blitz.
Lewis sacked. Taken down at the 40-yard line. Brock Williams lined up to blitz and pounced on Lewis.
But, that's something that I think the quarterback has to see. That's, pretty obvious. When you see him right there, the receiver's 3 yards outside of him. You have to see that, and if you don't see it, you have to feel it. But then Casey Moore has to make a little better block.
Right, at least force him to the outside so he doesn't get there in time.
Absolutely.
Baselli to punt. That's Sgetherall. Baselli trying to down it if he can inside the 20. Good coverage, but the man didn't see it.
Ryan
Fernandez looked the wrong way, and the ball bounced into the end zone for the touchback. Could have downed it at about the 5-yard line. So Notre Dame gets a break on that punt. Fernandez looks the wrong way, and the ball bounds into the end zone for the touchback. Notre Dame up 13-7. Live shot under the Stanford bench. That's not an umbrella. That's a samurai sword. We'll tell you the story in a moment. First down, Notre Dame. Been held to -3 yards in the second half, while Stanford has gone 108 in total offense. Givens nearly broke it. As it was, got 3 or 4 yards.
Well, Rial Johnson, number 97, we talked about him as a pass rusher. He has actually 3 samurai swords. This is the middle-sized one. All 3 of them given to him by his brother. It's his good luck charm. He carries it with him virtually everywhere. And
that was before the game when they huddled around the sword.
I just want to know about airport security in San Francisco. We got that on the plane, but he brought it out there. And he says it brings him a lot of, good luck.
And Rial made the last play. It's 2nd and 7 for the Irish. Fisher. Tony Fisher fights for a first down to the Irish 35-yard line. Reuben Carter hanging on, finally got him to the turf after a gain of 12.
Yeah, one more thing that David Givens does is block. That time, I believe it was a real nice block on Rial Johnson. We've seen Givens on special teams. We've seen him block punts. We've seen him catch touchdown passes. And that time he threw the block for Tony Fisher.
Stanford with the advantage in the second half so far, after Notre Dame had a big bulge in the first half.
Well, they've kind of settled in, haven't they?
Full house backfield for the second straight play. Option. Lovecchio to the 40, got about 5 yards on the keep. Coy Wire at the bottom of the stack with Aaron Fought.
Yeah, there's old number 22, you called his name, Coy Wire. Coy Wire, bottom of the pile. You've been saying his name a lot, bottom of a bunch of piles.
Former Prep All-American from Camp Hill, Pennsylvania, who rushed for 2,000 yards as a high school senior and was, as you mentioned earlier, Stanford's top rusher.
He just does not come out of the game. He's kind of their gunner in the punt returns and their wedge buster on the kickoff.
Blitz comes. Handoff. Fisher stopped behind the line by Matt Fredericks.
Good play by Matt Fredericks. Stanford's actually done a pretty good job on the blitz. They've got a lot of penetration. Fredericks that time. We've seen Tank Williams earlier at a free safety position. Aaron Fought had a sack on a blitz. They've been pretty successful bringing linebackers and safeties.
3rd down and 6. Notre Dame has converted only 1 of their last 7 third down plays. 5 defensive backs for the Cardinal. Empty backfield. Lovecchio from the gun. Blitz got it off, but incomplete.
In the blitz, you mentioned it, Tom, that forced the early throw. So very effective blitz. Kent Bauer, the defensive coordinator, good call. If a team can't, stop it, keep coming, keep calling it. And Notre Dame has done a real good job of picking up that blitz yet. So he had to throw the ball early. It caused the incompletion, forced a punt.
Fredericks came free, and the incompletion means 4th down. And the dangerous Durrani Pitts awaiting the Hill Bowl punt. Line drive. Pitts from the 29. Reverses, nowhere to go. Good coverage by the Notre Dame special teams. -1 on the return after the punt covered. 33. Chris Ura and Clifford Jefferson for Notre Dame. Don't forget baseball coming up tonight, 7:30 Eastern, Game 4, as the Yankees host the A's. Young Barry Zito against the veteran Roger Clemens, who lost Game 1 of the series, coming back on 3 days rest. Zito against Clemens. Oakland must win to stay alive. 7:30 Eastern from Yankee Stadium tonight.
Well, Stanford with 5:03 remaining in the third quarter. They have 5 minutes left of a pretty good wind behind them. And blowing about 25 miles an hour. You think if you're going to throw the ball, this would be a good time to do it.
Lewis with a handoff to Allen. Brian Allen, who broke one for 71 yards earlier in the third. Stopped after a gain of 3 there by Tony Driver.
Tony Driver is a free safety, yet he was 3 yards deep into the backfield. Tony Driver is one of the unsung guys on this Irish defense. He's played real well at free safety, but I think just as impressively, he's been awfully good on special teams, particularly the punt team.
Brian Allen, thanks to that 71-yard scamper, is closing in on a 100-yard rushing day. 7 carries, 92 yards.
Casey Robin there, one of those offensive linemen for the Irish.
2nd and 7. In motion is Allen. Lewis, complete to Allen. And a sure tackle made by Terrio Harrison, the linebacker, who was matched up with a running back in pass coverage and made the sure tackle.
The kind of matchup you're always looking for, right, Tom?
Right. But Harrison up to the challenge, just grabbing hold and holding on.
Well, under 4 minutes left here in this third quarter. This is an important down for Stanford.
It's 3rd and 4 from their own 33-yard line. 3 wides, bottom of the screen. Lewis. Pass deflected, and was it picked off?
Might have been picked off.
Yes, intercepted by Williams. Brock Williams on the deflection with the interception.
I actually thought Durrani Pitts was going to come down with him. He was open. They were trying to get the ball to him.
On the offense, penalties decline. First down.
So the turnover, once again, bedevils Stanford and their coach Tyrone Willingham.
6 turnovers last week. And if you can't get to a quick throwing team, get your hand up. Good to see who actually tipped it. And then Brock Williams fighting for it. And good strong hands by Brock Williams.
He took it away.
Denman 39, Harrison's 51. It was
Harrison, yeah.
Almost in the face mask.
And then Williams just wrestles it away.
And a pass after a lure.
So Notre Dame, for the 4th time, starts in Stanford territory, thanks to the turnover this time. Julius Jones, 3 tough yards. And Coy Wire, another tackle. Notre Dame leading Stanford 13-7, clock ticking down, inside 3.5 minutes left in the third quarter. Notre Dame opened the game with a 91-yard drive to take the lead. Just before halftime, they blocked a punt and then took it in for a touchdown, 13-0 at intermission. Notre Dame had a long kickoff return of 50 yards to open the third quarter, but couldn't do anything with it. Stanford came right back with a 2-play drive to score, and it's 13-7. Notre Dame with their 4th possession inside Stanford territory. They've only scored once. Shovel pass. Jones, Julius Jones, lowers his head and bangs his way to the 8-yard line. Ryan Fernandez took him on, but Jones, with a head of steam, will set up a 1st and goal for Notre Dame on a 24-yard gain.
2nd time they've called that play, Tom. First time Lavecchio kept the ball and ran for a first time. This time he pitched it right underneath to Jones. Now, this time he did have to explode. Now, if he picks up a block by Jay Johnson, he was able to block Ryan Fernandez, that's a touchdown. So Fernandez did a good job fighting off the block and saving a touchdown. Now, ideally, if Notre Dame could, you'd love to, they would love to run this clock out in this third quarter and have, the win at their backs.
2:35 left in the third. 1st and goal from the 7. Jones cuts up, touchdown. And Notre Dame will go for 2 after the missed extra point earlier. Bob Davie says, let's go for the deuce. And Lavecchio's calling for the play and said, we got to go.
And they have, I think Kevin Rogers told me earlier in the year, 4 different 2-point plays. Now, a lot of them give the quarterback a run-pass option.
They will attempt a 2-point conversion.
So on the 2-point conversion try, Murray and Fisher are the running backs in the eye. Now Fisher relines at a wingback spot. Gibbons on the other wing. And Lovecchio did not get it off on the shovel pass, which would have scored
easily.
But the play clock had run out.
You know, Lovecchio sensed that. You know, right from the very beginning, you talk about his maturity. That play didn't come in quickly enough.
Yeah, he was over there on the side, motioning to the sideline.
On
Let's
the
get
offense.
it in.
5-yard penalty. Still the try only. Try only.
So 5-yard penalty for the try. Laurie and Larry still pretty happy after the touchdown.
Now they'll go for one. I mean, a costly mistake there.
Yeah, because it looked like it would have scored easily. Just walked into the end zone, did Fisher. But now Seta is on for the kick.
They missed one extra point already, right?
Yep. Blocked, actually.
Yeah.
This one is good.
Willie Howard almost got that one.
So the turnover leads to the touchdown.
Yeah, you know, really started by Brock Williams making a really athletic play. Tipped by Tario Harrison, number 51. He gets the tip. What does your teammate do? Tip ball drill? I mean, it looked like the ball was going to go right into Durrani Pitt's hand. It was stolen by Brock Williams. And then right back to the touchdown. The first really explosive run there by Julius Jones. Good block by Joey Getherall. Again, if you want to tackle Julius Jones, this is what you face. You know, it was supposed to be really off the guard, kind of bounces it out. So he had some speed, a good decision, and then power at the end of that run.
So Julius Jones hauling it in. And for Julius, that is his 4th rushing touchdown of the season. Chilly Saturday afternoon in Notre Dame. After that brutal early schedule, come out of it 2-2, a couple of plays here or there. They could be 4-0, but they're 2-2. And I remember before the first game of the season, Texas A&M, Bob Davie saying, you know, it's not the first 4 or 5 that bother me. It's those last 6 or 7.
Well, they're going to be as good as any of their final 7 opponents. You know, as good. That's not going to say they're going to win all those games, but they're not going to be out-talented over the next 6 weeks. But still here with only up 20-7, a very talented Stanford team, particularly in the passing game. Stanford somehow or other always develops a great passer and receivers.
McNew will kick off. Pitts and Allen are deep for Stanford. At McNew to Allen. Brian Allen back to the 25-yard line. 15-yard return. Let's go to Paul Sunderland.
Well, Notre Dame now with a little bit of a comfortable lead, but still a lot of football to be played, and a lot of football to be played between these two fine universities, Notre Dame and Stanford, that share an equal emphasis on academic excellence and excellence on the field. And the Notre Dame Alumni Association of the Bay Area has established the Legends Trophy that will be awarded to the winner of this game annually. These two teams will play through 2010. The Legends Trophy is made of California redwood, appropriate there, and also Irish crystal. A nice combination with respect to the trophy. Pretty nice combination for two teams playing against one another for the next decade. Back to you guys.
All right, Paul, and the Irish with a leg up on getting back the trophy, leading 20-7. Here's the pitch to Carter. Terry Carter, nice cut, almost broke free. Stopped by a shoestring tackle from Lance Legree, close to the first down marker.
Well, Stanford has won the Sears Cup every year since 1995, emblematic of the best all-around athletic program. They have been unbelievable what they've been able to do in a variety of sports.
Quacha, the starting center, shaken up on the play for Stanford. Notre Dame has gotten 13 of their 20 points off Stanford miscues today. The blocked punt and then the interception.
But it's, proverbial question, did really Notre Dame cause those? I mean, really good special teams.
Friday, December 1st at the Joyce Center.
You always worry about when you bring in the backup center about, a fumbled snap. Remember, Stanford's had one of those. That's Zach Quacha started all.
65, Mike Holman will replace him.
Again, when I played quarterback, and I always had a backup center come in. I always made sure that I really stayed in under that center a little bit longer on this first snap, just to let him get into the feel of that game.
Holman backs up both center and guard. Now we'll snap the ball to Chris Lewis. Play action fake. Lewis turns, hit just as he released and got it away. And I don't think Pitts or Bowman ever saw it. It was Bowman downfield.
Yeah, a little sun in his eyes. Caleb Bowman, number 3, is the fastest receiver at Stanford. But he has a hard time actually adjusting to the ball when it's in the end. I was talking to some of the coaches. He said, he's got great speed, but it's negated a little bit because he doesn't really adjust to the ball well in the air. And that one may have been lost in the sun.
B.J. Scott and Ryan Roberts were putting the pressure on Lewis.
Yeah, Bowman on the left part of the screen. Sun in the eyes. Boy, again, Chris Lewis taking a shot. Yeah, he didn't even see. He didn't actually the ball.
Yeah.
He already passed him before he looks up. Never had a chance. Pretty good coverage by Tony Driver.
3rd and 1. There's the injured center, Quacha. On 3rd and 1, Lewis keeps.
Got it.
And got the first down. Not by a lot, but he got it, I think.
Chris Lewis, we said his father, volleyball coach. He's penciled in, he told me earlier this week, to start on the volleyball team later this spring. 3 hurries, 5 knockdowns, got a sack, deflections. Dad, proud father of both his daughter Robin, up at Stanford in a volleyball scholarship. And of course, Chris.
Lewis hit again. This pass is incomplete. Legree was there, and also Harrison was coming.
He's getting hit too much, Tom.
Yeah.
And the backup quarterback is Teo Johnson, a true freshman. He's going to call out this way. Again, Legree comes in here. No chance. I mean, he is taking a beating, coming off taking a terrible beating last week. But and Teo Johnson's the backup quarterback. He's 6'7". True freshman, and they don't want to use him at all. Because they know Fasani's going to come back. There he is, all 6'7" of them. The brother of Rial Johnson.
Stanford has 2 6'7" backup quarterbacks. Ryan Eklund is also 6'7", as is Godsey of Notre Dame. What's going on here?
Never seen a game with 3 6'7" quarterbacks, believe me.
Casey Moore totes it about 2 or 3 yards short of the first down, stopped by Denman and Israel.
I mentioned Teo Johnson. We just saw a shot at him, number 5. All 6'7" of him. The 5 or 6 quarterbacks in the game average 6'5", but there's 1, 2, 3, 6'7" quarterbacks. Rial Johnson was talking about his little brother, or his brother. He said, yeah, I used to call him my little brother. Now I call him my younger brother once he turned 6'7". He's supposed to play on the Cardinal basketball team. As a matter of fact, he's actually supposed to be redshirting this year and was supposed to leave the Stanford team this month to go join the basketball team, but not able to now.
Meanwhile, Notre Dame has taken a timeout with 28 seconds left in the 3rd quarter. And looking ahead, the Irish will be back in action in Notre Dame Stadium on the 28th of this month, as they will take on the Air Force Falcons. Air Force in Notre Dame here on NBC October 28th. Voted the best fight song in all of college athletics.
You know, Chris Lewis, the Stanford quarterback, knows every word to the Notre Dame fight song. Yeah, he absolutely does. Now, I should mention the Stanford band was not invited here today. Stanford band is on probation. They felt they went a little bit beyond what they should have the last time they were here in South Bend, and they were not invited to participate, but I'm sure they're out there practicing their tackling right now.
It was 91, wasn't it, when they
yeah, that's right.
were judged to be a bit tasteless in some of their routines.
They used to make fun of me and my team at SC. We always thought it was kind of clever.
Yeah, but that was kind of a common sport.
Oh, man, we're doing some body damage now.
And play stopped again.
Timeout,
really,
Stanford.
Now, that's a wasted timeout, I think. Really, Notre Dame called a timeout because it was 3rd and 3. But timeouts are really precious. Again, the third quarter's winding down, 28 seconds remaining. I mean, teams seem to, misuse timeouts regularly. But I think that's I don't know what happened there.
I don't either.
But they had plenty of time to discuss what they were going to call when Notre Dame had called timeout.
Yeah, the play had started, the man in motion and everything, when timeout was called. I presume because the play clock was ticking down, but like you say, how could that happen when you come out of a timeout?
Tyrone Willingham was a walk-on quarterback at Michigan State, late 70s, and walked on actually for football and baseball. Ended up being all Big Ten as a quarterback in 1977. And really part of an incredible lineage of quarterbacks. Started really with Bill Walsh, that West Coast offense, and a bunch of coaches have followed that lead, and Tyrone's doing it now.
Now finally ready to go. 28 seconds left in the quarter. 3rd and 3. Notre Dame stacking at the line of scrimmage. Lewis with a pass complete. First down, Stanford. Moore, the fullback, stumbling his way to the 33-yard line. So the perfect call against the defense Notre Dame had came with a blitz. It breaks for 20 yards to Casey Moore.
Remember earlier in the game, number 1, Brock Williams. Here he is going to come again. Brock Williams, number 1. Early in the game, he makes a sack. And this time, Kerry Carter gets enough of them just to throw him off stride, and that allows Chris Lewis to get the ball to the fullback, Casey Moore.
And Tony Driver finally chases him down for the tackle. But big first down for the Cardinal, now at the Notre Dame 33-yard line, trailing 27.
Excuse me, Casey Moore can throw the ball as well as catch it. You'd be surprised at some point today to see him throw it.
Carter in motion. Lewis handing off to Moore. Hit in the backfield and falls forward for a couple of yards.
He got less on that one, did Moore.
Oh, thank you, Lance Legree. As the third quarter ticks away. And that'll be the end of the third quarter at Notre Dame. The Irish leading the Stanford Cardinal 20-7. And we'll be back after these messages and a word from your local station. Notre Dame tradition, the playing of Tchaikovsky's 1812 overture at the end of the third quarter. And the fans joining in.
Great thing. Listening to them practice yesterday, they were, that band works hard.
Yeah, they're very good. Yeah. First play of the fourth quarter, Stanford with a 2nd and 9. Lewis for the end zone, overshoots Pitts, who had broken free downfield, covered by Walton, but he had a step.
Yeah, oh, he sure did. I mean, and Chris Lewis knows it. That was a touchdown. Ronnie Pitts continues to get open. And I think the Irish started with 2 guys on him.
Meanwhile, Zach Quacha, the starting center for the Cardinal, will not return to the game. He's suffered a strained left knee.
Tom, important down 20-7. Stanford is with a 3rd and 10 into the wind. They need to get, obviously, if they can't get the first down, they need at least 6-7 yards to give themselves a reasonable field goal attempt.
Lewis steps up with time, fires a strike to Pitts. He's inside the 20 for the Stanford first down. Walton covered him, but Lewis wound up and delivered a fastball that time.
Yeah, and Durrani Pitts extends the strike zone, if you will, with his size and his ability to adjust to the ball. Good throwing lane there. Real good throwing lane. Now, Bob Davie is the head coach, but he's also calling the defensive signals. He's done it all year long. And Bob Davie has got to figure out a way to stop Durrani Pitts. They play a lot of man for man, but I think it becomes time that you get 2 guys on Pitts, force Stanford's other wide receiver to beat you.
From the 19, first down Stanford. Carter, stutter step, breaks away once, powers his way inside the 15-yard line. Tough 4 or 5 yards. Shane Walton finally got him down with help.
Never saw a football game until he was 9 years old. He moved to Canada from Trinidad. And he said, well, after watching his very first game, I don't know why these guys keep running into one another.
Well, he's going out now, replaced by Brian Allen. He might have got run into a little too much that time. It was a tough run for him. He did grind it out for about 5 yards. Fullback Moore. Maybe 2. Roberts hit him immediately.
Well, Stanford needs 2 scores. Down 27, opening moments of the fourth quarter. But I think this is the situation. Tyrone Willingham says, I've got 2 downs to pick up this remaining 3 yards, if need be.
That's the goal, the end zone. They trail 20-7. On this drive, they have converted all 3 of their third downs.
I don't think a field goal does them a lot of good right now, so I think they don't get it this time. They need to go for it on 4th.
3rd and 3. Lewis chased, got it away, no good. Incomplete, intended for Bowman. Ryan Roberts was all over Chris Lewis.
Yeah, Ryan Roberts has been all over Chris Lewis all day. He's down here. Again, just blowing right through. Carry card number 8's got to give him a little bit more help. Rocky Boyman there as well. They say, hey, let's meet at the quarterback. Maybe, make a wish each of them had a leg of Chris Lewis.
So the field goal attempt by Baselli.
That puts them down 10 points, huh? If they make it.
It's going to be a 30-yarder. Officially 29. Baselli's kick will be no good. Off to the right. Didn't look good from the outset as the Irish jumping up trying to block it. And so Stanford looked good and then stalls and comes away empty.
Let's go back to this kick. The laces actually are facing Mike Baselli. The laces right, and he's kicking off the laces. Now, ordinarily, the center and the snapper work so much together. By the natural rotation, the laces are facing the goalpost. But that time, they get turned right to the kicker. It may have affected Baselli's kick.
It was no good, so it's still 20-7 as Notre Dame takes over. Handoff to Howard. Terrence Howard gains the 25-yard line, stopped by Tank Williams.
Well, mistakes continue to haunt Stanford. In the first half, they fumbled a snap from center. They were driving for a score, and then they miss a field goal here, and what ordinarily would have been a tight ball game.
Stanford has outgained Notre Dame in total yards. Lovecchio, his first start, has done a good job. Lewis has had pressure put on him by the Notre Dame defense all day.
He said that was one of the keys to the game. The offensive line give him a little bit more time than they did a week ago, but he has been hit often.
Lovecchio quarterback draw.
Oh yeah, it's Willie Howard. Willie Howard, number 77.
Stops him at the 28, short of the first down.
Talk about how hard Willie Howard plays. He's part of the Trench Dogs. They call themselves the defensive line, the Trench Dogs. And he went out and bought a bunch of chains, dog chains for the whole team. They bring them to the game each week, stick them on the bench. There's one of them. That's Riel Johnson wearing one of those chains there. You look good in one of those, Tom. I think you look really good. Going through airport security and that would be nice.
3rd and 2 with Jones in motion. Give to Fisher. It's going to be close.
Yeah, that's a good run by Tony Fisher. It's a powerful run.
Matt Fredericks hit him immediately.
I think he got it, but I want to tell you, he got it because it was like a 3rd and 4th effort, not 1st and 2nd. He didn't stop with the 1st and 2nd effort. That was a determined run by Tony Fisher and gives his team 4 more downs.
8 carries, 45 yards for Tony Fisher.
Here's former Mr. Ohio. Very good debating some part of that competition.
You would know. Play action fake. Lovecchio evades the rush for a moment and then throws it away. Marcus Hoover nearly had Matt Lovecchio.
Here's Marcus Hoover, number 92. Normally kind of their run stopper at left defensive end. Ordinary teams have good run stoppers at left defensive end, good pass rushers at the right defensive end. He is a good run stopper. That time pretty good on the pass rush.
2nd and 10 for the Irish. Clock ticking away. Just under 11 minutes left in the game. 9 of 15 in his first college start, Matt Lavecchio. The 2 touchdowns, both to Gibbons. 5 wide receiver, empty backfield pressure. Lavecchio had to unload in a hurry, and it's incomplete.
Coy Wire.
Wire was right there.
Yeah, Coy Wire, 22 off the corner. Again, Stanford has done a great job of blitzing Notre Dame. And it's one of the things, hey, you figure we're going to get to the quarterback or disrupt him before an open wide receiver can get there. And it's worked so far for Stanford.
So here's 3rd and 10 coming up for the Irish. They've converted 2 of 9. This one from their own 30-yard line. Stanford looking to stop here and get the ball back in good field position. Blitz comes.
Yeah, it's Coy Wire again.
And Lavecchio's pass incomplete. Johnson wanted a flag, but no call. Fernandez defending. And Notre Dame will indeed have to punt.
Really good defensive calling by Kent Baer, the coordinator. Again, they have just, it comes off the corner again and up the middle. It's Coy Wire, number 20, that's 26, excuse me, Aaron Fault, the strong safety. But, boy, they just have not been able to slow that down or burn them, really hurt them.
Hillbold will punt.
You know, with the wind, you hope you don't out-punch your coverage.
Pitts nearly blocked it. Flag down as Pitts ducks to the sideline and out of bounds. Flag back upfield.
Whoops.
The Stanford special teams called for a 5-yard running into the kicker penalty.
Okay, yeah, there's two variations of the theme, right? 5 and 15.
Running into the kicker or roughing the kicker. This one apparently will be a running into.
I believe that might be the first penalty on second penalty on Stanford today.
Running into the kicker on the receiving team. That penalty is declined. First down, Stanford.
So Stanford will take the ball where Pitts ducked out of bounds. And here was the play. Hillbold punting. Very little contact.
Yeah. Give an Oscar.
Stanford ball when we come back.
Now this is the guy, Rocky Boyman, that would be great in the gravity games. This guy loves everything about football. We were talking to him yesterday, and he was talking about his favorite band, Metallica. And he says, those guys are really going soft. Can't believe it.
He always listens to Metallica and Justice for All before the game.
I can't imagine Metallica going soft.
I don't see it myself.
No, I really don't. But, if you played in the parking lot, Rocky Boyman would play. You played flag football, he'd be there. But he's been a leader today. Started the game off with an early stop, kind of set the tone for this Irish defense. The fiery redhead, then it was a tip ball by Harrison that led to the interception by Brock Williams. Good rush there by Ryan Roberts all day long, put pressure on Chris Lewis. And so far, Stanford only has 7 points because of Boyman and his friends.
Maybe he's right. I think they have gotten a little mainstream.
Yeah, how many CDs of Metallica do you have, Tom
Undisclosed. Brian Allen, that was a scramble from the outset with Moore leading and Allen carrying the ball as Notre Dame barely got those extra players off the field that time before Stanford snapped it. Stanford said, "You're going to do that?
Yeah,
we're going to make you pay."
Good adjustment. Now, 10:20 left in the game. Stanford down 20-7. I mean, I think you need to get in and out of the huddle a little bit quicker. You're probably going to have 3 series left in this ball game. You need 2 touchdowns. So, they need to get in and out of the huddle and then really use these 3 series left pretty well.
Big come from behind win for Purdue over Michigan, as you saw on the scores. Lewis rolls, throws against his body again, and it's incomplete, intended for Pitts, and that's a throw he's had trouble with. The toughest throw when you have to roll the opposite way, but he has not perfected that yet.
Bill Diedrich, the offensive coordinator, was talking this week about Chris Lewis. He said, he's really good on the move, very accurate. He said he might be more accurate on the move than he is in the pocket, but didn't get the shoulders turned on that one because he had, once again, Durrani Pitts open.
3rd and 8 for Stanford. They need this conversion.
Desperately, I think.
Yeah, desperately is a good word.
Here's Durrani Pitts. I'll tell you, right now, nobody's got. There he goes.
Pressure. Lewis hit as he delivers, intended that time for Carter, the running back.
Lance Legree, number 90, felt the screen and kind of stayed right with him. Heads up play by Lance Legree.
Chris Lewis has taken a beating today.
Oh, man. He did last week. Number 90. That's the blitz by Glenn Earl. You know, we have the corner blitz. Oh, wow. She's right knees. Took a shot, too.
Glenn Earl with the blitz. And Baselli will kick it together all. Line drive. Getherall takes it on the hop, fumbles, picks it up, and then is tackled at the 24-yard line. 39-yard punt with no return from Getherall. A little Metallica takes us to break in honor of Rocky Boyman and the Notre Dame D. Yeah. Notre Dame leads Stanford 20-7 with 9:39 left in the fourth quarter. Football on the 25-yard line of the Irish.
Stanford needs a turnover.
Pitch to Jones. Can't cut up. Finally just bides his time until a seam opens and makes it across the 30. That looked like it was going to be stopped for a loss. And Jones manages to make a gainer out of it.
You know, a lot of guys, you know, are quick to the holes. But what I think is amazing to me about Julius Jones is how quick out of a hole he can come. He just kind of popped through. I mean, this was really stopped well. A lot of defensive players right there. Bumps into his own guy, Fain, the center. Just kind of keeps churning. Picked up about 7 yards.
Jones again. Just short of the first down, it appears. Sam Benner made the tackle.
This is Stanford's enemy right there, that clock, 8:45. That's why they have to really kind of trying to force a turnover. Scratch and claw at the ball. Notre Dame has done a really good job of protecting the ball this year. He had 0 fumbles coming into today's game. Actually, they had one, but it was not allowed because of the inadvertent whistle. So they really have not fumbled yet. Only 3 turnovers on the year for the Irish.
3rd and 1 here, full house backfield. Jones nearly broke it. Makes it to the 40 and picks up a Notre Dame first down. Coy Wire.
You know, Julius Jones says, we talked a little bit about an injured right thumb. And all week long in practice, he wears a cast over his right hand. Only on Saturdays does he take that cast off. And he said, you know, I really feel uncomfortable carrying the ball, generally my left hand, but because of the injury, I'm either going to use 2 hands or carry it with my left hand. That time he had both hands around the ball.
He's carried 12 times for only 30 yards today, held in check by the Stanford defense. And he falls down, as does Lovecchio. Set that to music, that could be pretty entertaining.
Not Metallica, please.
Williams and Benner covering Jones, who limps a little bit as he gets up after falling down. And so did Lovecchio. They run into each other or what? Well, I don't know.
It looked like he was just trying to make, he talked about making a violent cut there. He was talking to us yesterday, Julius Jones, that he was wet and sloggy tonight. He was going to take soft steps. But when it's not rainy, he says, I like to make violent cuts. That was one of those violent cuts and nearly sprained his ankle.
2nd and 11. Clock approaching 7 minutes.
You're going to watch the shuffle, every defensive coordinator on the team.
Blitz was coming, and they handed to Fisher. And he's stacked up after a yard. Matt Fredericks, as Fernandez was coming on a blitz.
6:50 remaining in the game. So this, for Stanford, this becomes really the most important 3rd down of the game. You know, again, they're probably going to get 2 more chances at the ball, 2 more possessions. So Tyrone Williams has to find a way to stop Notre Dame this time and use the next 2 possessions to get in the end zone. They need 2 touchdowns.
Lovecchio throwing it together all. And Coy Wire was ready for that, sort of a...
Did he read that well?
Yeah, he almost got there before Getherall did.
I think he's made the transition to be a defensive player pretty well, huh, don't you?
He has the right mentality, clearly.
Well, the defense did their job. Now it's up to Chris Lewis to do his.
And maybe Durrani Pitts, who awaits the punt by Hillbold.
That guy's up here.
Pitts fields at the 21. Tries to get to the sideline. Hemmed in over there and ducks out of bounds short of the 35. So Stanford needs to get something going. 14-yard return of a 40-yard punt, but the Cardinal down 27. Welcome back to Notre Dame. The Irish Guards huddled up, even though the sun has made a rare appearance here, and he's handling my blind trust.
Yeah, there's a guy, yeah. Norman Rockwell did not paint that. Yeah.
Notre Dame 5:37 away from recording their third victory of the season if they can hold off the Stanford Cardinal.
Yeah,
they lead it 20-7.
Last year, Stanford was really good in 2-minute drill situations, both the end of the first half and in the game. So they're capable of doing it, but they've got to get something going because they're going to have really 2 possessions left.
Blitz comes from Brock Williams and from the center of the line as well in the form of Anthony Weaver, and Weaver makes the sack.
2 sacks against Michigan State. He had an interception against Michigan State. Rushed pretty well here today. Here he comes right in here, right up the middle. Boy, just blew right by. Was that Kirk Chambers? Man, a good rush there by Anthony Weaver.
Officially the second sack, but there have been a lot of close calls, near misses, hurries, knockdowns, everything else you can imagine. They've been all over Chris Lewis, as you would imagine, putting the pressure on the young, untried quarterback. He has protection this time. Flag is down.
And Boyman got held. Rocky Boyman got held.
And the pass incomplete, intended for Bowman.
And Rocky Boyman, number 30 on passing downs, rushes the passer, gets in a 3-point stance, and really comes after him. And I believe, I don't know which offensive line, but I saw him really get tackled.
Holding on the offense. Penalties declined. 3rd down.
So they declined the penalty to set up a 3rd and 19.
Yeah, here's Boyman right here in the tackle right there. I believe that's Kirk Chambers. He's going to really just kind of tackle him.
Yep.
Chambers, number 67, 21-year-old true freshman.
Looked like they were going to dance there for a minute.
You know, again, Boyman kind of does everything, doesn't he? Rushes the passer, plays pass defense, knocks you down when you come over the middle.
Pitts the motion man. Here's Lewis under pressure. Sets the center screen to Pitts. Notre Dame ready for it. Twisted down at the 30-yard line by Lance Legree.
Well, they're going to punt it away, but and now their defense, Stanford's defense, is really going to have to play very well. Stanford's defense is going to have to force a 3 and out. And no matter who Notre Dame sets back to return a punt, they're dangerous. And this time it's Getherall, huh?
It is Getherall. And Baselli's been a busy man today. Both punting and kicking. Getherall, a rare fair catch. Taken at the 37-yard line. 32-yard punt by Mike Baselli.
What's Larry doing there?
1st and 10, Notre Dame.
There's Matt LaVecchio.
Okay. Matt LaVecchio with a successful debut if the Irish can hold on. And today's Chevrolet players of the game, Coy Wire from Stanford and David Gibbons of Notre Dame. In recognition of their efforts, Chevrolet will make a contribution to each school's general scholarship fund. The Chevrolet Scholarship Program has been a tradition for 30 years. There's Gibbons, who has 2 touchdown catches and a block punt to his credit today.
He ran the ball well, blocked pretty well. I saw him block a couple of times. He's back in here now as a running back.
Flag down. Gibbons was going to get the carry.
Yeah. Kevin Rogers told me earlier in the year that Gibbons could really be a full-time tailback.
Here's the penalty call.
prior to the snap, false start, offense. 5-yard penalty remains first down.
And let's go to Paul Sunderland.
Well, Tom, up in the stands here, Notre Dame fans enjoying a 20-7 lead, and I think two very relieved parents right now, Larry and Lori Lavecchio. Your son makes the first ever start here at Notre Dame as a freshman. First, let's talk to you, Lori. Your thoughts this week as his mother. How do you think he would handle this situation? How do you think he's done?
Beautifully. Did a good job.
How have you done?
I'm nervous.
The clock's winding down. It's okay. You can tell us what's going on today and how it's been.
It's been quite an experience.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Congratulations to you and your son. Larry, you come off a career in Wall Street. Did that help in any way to prepare you for this stressful experience?
I've been used to a lot of stress, and winning and losing is part of the game. So I'm just happy everybody's healthy and put a W up there.
All throughout the course of this game, we've been talking, and you said you wanted this really to be Matt's game and Matt's day. It has been that, obviously, but your day as well as his parents.
Yeah, it's really not Matt's day. It's the team's day. He's just one spoke in the wheel, and I'm just happy that he's had the opportunity. We've been happy since he's come to Notre Dame, and it's a great shot for him. But most of all, it's just a team thing, and Matt is just excited to be part of it.
And thank you for being part of our coverage of this game. A big day for both of you, obviously, and your families. Thanks for your time. We appreciate it. Tom?
All right, Paul, I think Larry and Lori were emotionally drained there, weren't they?
Maybe we know why Matt's so low-key now.
Givens. Got a yard.
Larry Lavecchio was saying, hey, it's kind of about winning and losing. Well, Matt Lavecchio doesn't lose much. He was 22-1 in high school.
Kent Graham was the last freshman to start for Notre Dame. Passed for 111 yards, but had one picked off.
1987 when he did.
Lavecchio, 2 touchdowns and no interceptions, and even 100 yards through the air.
I think Bob Davie has to feel really good about his quarterback position because, here he was in the 5th game of the year with still a very unsettled quarterback position. Didn't really know what he was going to get out of the freshman. You hope, you think you have a chance, but boy, Matt Lavecchio has, I think, exceeded the coaching staff's expectations.
Stanford has called timeout. $80,000, the 153rd consecutive sellout, and the Irish seem to be in pretty good position. Chairman of NBC Sports is Dick Ebersol. The president of NBC Sports, Ken Chanzer. Executive producer, Tom Roy. Coordinating director of Notre Dame football, John Gonzalez. Today's game produced by Bill Bonnell. Replay producer, Kevin Cusick. Associate director, Jim Carr. Tape producer, John Hirsch. Technical director, Phil Doucette. Dave Clancy on stats. Our production associates, Chris DeSalle, Judith Colonna, and Pierre Musa. Kerry Nelson, the production manager. Stage managers John Reiser and Mike Coolin, and the technical manager Lou Ray. Thanks to all of those folks for making our telecast possible today.
Yet Stanford still has a chance, but they must stop Notre Dame here.
Givens. His average has been hurt on his last 2 carries.
Yeah, they got Givens out of bounds too. Stanford did a great job.
The out of bounds is what you did not want if you're Notre Dame.
That's one, again, you really need to know the situation of the game, and Givens, as great a day as he's had, boy, even if it's a 4 or 5 yard loss, you stay in bounds.
So the clock stopped at 3:06, and 4th down for Notre Dame.
I'm not so sure if I'm Stanford. I don't really try to block a punt here.
High snap. Hillbold hauls it down and sends it downfield. Good job. Pitts made a bad mistake there.
Yeah, you got to catch that one. Boy.
It'll roll dead at the 10-yard line. A 50-yard punt. Hillbold did a great job just to haul down the snap and then gets a 50-yarder out of it. Coming up this week.
It's the premiere of Must See TV Thursday, starting with back-to-back Friends. Plus Will and Grace, Just Shoot Me, and ER. The premiere of Must See TV Thursday.
coming up on NBC this week, and the Notre Dame band celebrating. All bundled up. The bad weather didn't really materialize. Cool, but no precipitation today. Snow, rain, everything forecast. Pierce locks his big mitts around that one at the 20-yard line. And Stanford's in the hurry-up offense.
And with only one timeout. Remember, they used 2 timeouts early in the second half. If they could score, try an onside kick.
Lewis across the middle behind Pierce.
They threw it behind Pierce because Tario Harrison, number 51, that inside linebacker, did a great job of kind of taking the next few steps away from Brett Pierce. And Lewis saw him, felt it, so he had to throw a little bit behind him.
It'll be 3rd down and 1. Lewis sneaking for the 1st down. Clock will stop on the 1st down momentarily. Stanford should be set and ready to go by the time the clock restarts.
They are. I think this is old Durrani Pitts up there. He's been the featured guy.
Lewis buying a little time and unloads it. That was a good decision.
Yep. Yeah, that's not pass interference. He's outside the pocket, outside the tackle. New rule in college football.
And a good rule, matching the NFL's, at least approximating it.
Well, thank the SIDs, too. Both these universities spent a lot of time with us this week. Gary McDowell of Stanford. We were traveling. You guys were coming back from Sydney. I was traveling around the country, but you did a great job of setting us up with the Stanford players and coaches. And John Heisler, Eric Walker at Notre Dame, as always, doing a great job for us. We appreciate their efforts.
2.5 minutes on the clock. And Stanford needs a quick score and then another. Pierce has been the favorite target this drive of Lewis, covered by Glenn Earl after he made the catch. Clock continues to roll, ticking down toward the 2-minute mark. And Stanford down 13 points. Lewis with a crossing pattern to Pitts, hoping he can make a big play by breaking it, and does get enough for the 1st down and then out of bounds.
Durrani Pitts came to Stanford and he was going to play baseball as well as football. But I think his football career just blossomed so well and did so well early in his career. When he, sophomore year, when he caught those 74 passes, never did play baseball for Stanford.
Did play in high school at Saginaw High School, Saginaw, Michigan. In fact, was the Michigan Student Athlete of the Year for his basketball, baseball, football, and track and academic accomplishments. Lewis winds up and has a man open, wide open. It's Bowman. And Bowman is down to the 45, 21-yard gain. Jefferson and Williams.
This game's not over. We said a lot of thank yous, but this game's not over. If Stanford can get the ball into this end zone, the onside kick is always a mystery, but still with 1:52, have a chance.
Lewis to Bowman again.
Dropped that one?
He dropped it, I think. Yeah.
We talked
Might
about
have been just as well because he didn't have much of a gain.
Yeah, actually saved some time, right?
Yep.
Well, if Stanford could really develop a go-to other receiver than Durrani Pitts, they could make some hay in the Pac-10. Really tough conference out in the Pac-10 this year for Tyrone Willingham. Defending Pac-10 champions, brought his team to the Rose Bowl for the first time in 28 years last year. Since the Thunder Chickens, I think.
Miami upsetting top-ranked Florida State. Nebraska 1 point ahead of Iowa State in the 3rd. Lewis scrambling for the sideline. He'll need to get out of bounds and does it nicely as he picks up the 1st down with Lance Legree in hot pursuit.
Yeah, we've talked about the hustle of Lance Legree, and that was another example of it. Lance Legree, number 90, here he is come hustling back. He's a defensive tackle. He's 290 plays, but you get 290 pounds of hustle out of Lance Legree every down. He makes a lot of plays on the sideline, even though he's a defensive tackle.
Well, Stanford is sort of pecking away at the Notre Dame defense, but they need a score. They need, they're running out of time. You just can't continue this way. Yeah, because you're right, they do need 2, so you got to get 1 right now. Threw it into a crowd, did Lewis, and it's incomplete.
You know, there have been some drop passes. That would have been a tough catch by Brett Pierce, the tight end. You know, Russell Stewart, the starting tight end, could not play today because of an injury. But there have been some drop balls. And Tyrone Willingham mentioned that at halftime. They did drop 4 or 5 balls in the first half. And when you depend so much on the pass, I mean, obviously you can't do that, but you also have to have another wide receiver or tight end step up other than Durrani Pitts.
Lewis can't quite connect with Pitts. Incomplete, bringing up 3rd down with 1:29 on the clock. Pitts has to be tired at the end of the game.
Boy, absolutely. You know, returning punts, running routes, because they throw the ball 35, 40 times a game. There's Randy Fasani, whom they hope to have back in a couple of weeks when they play USC. Up on the farm.
3rd and 10. Lewis wide open to the tight end. And it'll be Stanford inside the 15-yard line. Israel and Walton got him after 19 yards, but the catch was by Natchez, his first of the game.
Get the ball snapped. You can't waste too much time. The clock doesn't start until the markers are set. Now the clock starts again.
Lewis, protection good. Pass incomplete. I don't know if it was for Pitts or Bowman, kind of in between the two of them.
Guess what, though? Chris Lewis got hit again. This time by Anthony Denman. I don't know how many times Chris Lewis has gotten hit, but I was talking to Eric Heitman, one of the linemen, number 75 for Stanford this week, and he said, you know, one thing we learned about Chris Lewis last week, he is one tough guy.
Well, he had to be to survive this and last week's pounding. That's a career high for him, 227 yards.
He's going to have some big days in the farm over his career.
2nd and 10 from the Notre Dame 14.
There's Pitts again. Comes the blitz.
Lewis hangs it up for the tight end, Natchez. He caught on. Boyman was draped all over him, and Natchez 6'7", 240. The big Iowan had the strong hands to just hold on a 14-yard score.
You know, Chris Lewis just kind of sensed a mismatch, you know, a height mismatch, a physical mismatch. Now, Rocky Boyman's a strong guy, but he's, 6'4", and Natchez 6'7". Just throw the ball high. You have a linebacker and a tight end, and you have a chance.
Extra point by Baselli. And Baselli boots it through. So Stanford has narrowed the gap to 6 with 1:07 remaining.
Yeah, you look for matchups like this, you know, a linebacker on a back, linebacker on a tight end. Here it is right there. That's Natchez and Rocky Boyman. Lewis sees it, sees the blitz, knows if he has a chance, throw it high, give him a chance. Basketball. Sometimes the underthrown deep pass is really an effective play because the offensive player can adjust to it. The defensive lineman can't see it. Good block there by, I think it was Kerry Carter that saved Chris Lewis, gave him the chance. So now let's face it, 20-14. Stanford will try, I believe, an onside kick. Ordinarily, a few years ago, an onside kick, you had about a 10% chance of recovering onside kicks. But Morton Anderson, the NFL, kind of invented this new onside kick, and it has increased your chances of recovering an onside kick, 100%.
Right, that's the bouncing.
Yeah, he hits it on the top of the ball, you get that real high bounce.
And then it's a jump ball.
Then it's a jump ball, absolutely. So, now it's gone. We used to recover maybe 10% of them. Now it's 18, 20% of onside kicks that they recover.
It has to travel 10 yards. And Notre Dame gets the hands team up front. Baselli to try the onside kick, we presume. There it is. There's the fun bounce, and that one didn't bounce up.
No, good shortstop there.
Yeah, it was like a shortstop feeling a grounder.
Corey Holloway, tight end.
So Holloway, member of the hands team, holds on. And with 1:06, Notre Dame takes over.
A couple years ago, Jarius Jackson scored on a play like that. It was up man, just like that. Got it and ran it in for a touchdown. It's going to come over here.
Just never bounced
up. No, yeah, waiting for that. They were waiting for that last kick to, make it a jump ball. Well, Stanford only has one timeout. Remember we said they kind of burned the timeout early? So need to create a turnover to have any kind of chance. They're just going to take a knee.
Getherall is playing safety on offense as just in case Lavecchio takes a knee. See Getherall lined up 10 yards behind the formation. Stanford uses its final timeout with 1:01. Is this something that Willingham can build on as he?
I think he's got to find a solution to protect his quarterback more, because if he doesn't, Chris Lewis is not going to last the next few games. I mean, he has gotten hammered the last few weeks. Bill Diedrich, the offensive coordinator, said, we really have to find some leadership in that offensive line and protect our quarterback better.
And for Notre Dame, barring disaster, on the way to win number 3, and with the performance of young Matt Lavecchio with some bright prospects.
Yeah, they're an improving team, Tom. I mean, I've already said it a couple times. They're a top 5 special teams team. Defense has played well all season long. They just had instability at quarterback, and maybe Matt Lavecchio has answered that question. He's got a long way to go. He knows it. The coaches know it. But this is certainly something you can build on, and they're going to be as good as everybody else on their schedule. They play Navy, next down in Orlando?
Right.
West Virginia remaining, and Southern Cal out there.
Air Force, Boston
Air Force,
College.
that's right. Mm-hmm. Both those games at home.
Rutgers. Again, Lavecchio will take a knee.
Quarterback's favorite play.
See the clock ticking away here, down to 50 seconds.
Well, he started a year ago against Stanford in the locker room when that game was over to finish their 5-7 season. Said, guys, we have to have a better attitude. We have to have a better year of preparation. Guys like Ron Israel, in particular, Anthony Denman, spent an entire offseason preparing for this year. Got through the tough part of that opening schedule at 2-2. And they could be a pretty interesting team as this year winds down.
Lavecchio again down, and that'll do it. So Matt Lavecchio continues the tradition of quarterbacks starting their first game at Notre Dame with a win as he guides the Irish to victory over the Stanford Cardinal. Final seconds tick away.